All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. Meeting of the Carver Select Board for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. Select Board meetings are broadcast live and are also recorded by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 9, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. There are openings on several committees. Please refer to the front page on our website for a listing and application. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our community prayer. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who can provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially, we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have the opportunity to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek, and keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen. All right, thank you all for coming this evening. The first item on our agenda, as always, is citizens' participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the recognition of our retiring police chief, Mark Dufely. Chief, if you'd like to come up.
Mike, would you like to come over here?
We also have two members of our legislative delegation here with us this evening, Senator Kelly Dooner and Representative John Gasky. If you folks would like to come up and join us as well. And Chief, before we start off, I'll just say on behalf of myself, you've been the chief the entire time I've been on the select board, all 8 years. And we've been through a lot, I think, working together. We've hired a lot of officers. We made plans for the redo of Edaville. We've been through multiple King Richard's Fair plans and lots of traffic plans. And through all those things, you've been an exemplary leader for the department. You've been a wonderful colleague, and you've been a wonderful friend. And I appreciate all the help and support you've given me all the years, and we will truly miss you here in the town of Carver.
And I feel the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And before we turn this over to our legislative delegation, I would just open it up to other members of the board.
Go first.
Sure. I have nothing prepared, but I remember first time I think we met was I was in the finance committee, and you were handed the task of trying to coordinate budgets from your predecessor. And I just always thought that this is someone that I consider to be a very intelligent individual. He picked up on things quickly from a financial perspective. Obviously, you had the policing behind you. And I think that, no offense to the department, but it improved. I mean, it's just all the changes that you made. We had a good department before, and you made it better. I think that's going to continue under the new leadership. I wish I could I tried finding an old picture of a King Richard's Fair challenging time, which was about a few years back, because I drove by and I saw you out there trying to direct cars, and the expression on your face was priceless. And I wish I had taken a photo so I could give that to you in a plaque. But thank you for everything you've done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Chief, it's been a pleasure working with you over the years on the board and before that, and with the police station and such. And you've been very easy to work with, and as John said, very knowledgeable on things and helped educate the board over the years. And I just appreciate your dedication. And I think, as John was saying, the department is much better off, has benefited greatly for your leadership that you've provided over the years. And I wish you the very best in your retirement. We hope you'll find some relaxation from the stress of being a chief and have fun in your retirement.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Hoffman.
I've known you, my whole select board and planning board before that. I know a lot of people mainly think of you with the King Richard's Fair to help us guide through that, but I remember those meetings with the police station to move that, so I was part of recreation at that, so we had some interesting meetings. But everything worked out well, just like everything when we all worked together. I've learned a lot from you. I appreciate it. You've been a good friend, and when I've had questions, you're more than happy to meet with me, so I appreciate that, and I know Matt will do the same. But you've set the bar pretty high, but I have faith in the leadership that you've left there. But again, we're all going to miss you, and good luck in the future.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Senator Dooner?
Come a little closer. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I looked at this citation and I saw 31 years of service, which I think is crazy that you've been serving the town of Carver for 31 years in various roles, and I just want to thank you for that. I think you have truly set the bar high for what a chief should be, and I'm sure your department would agree with that. Your service has been nothing short of impeccable, and for me to be able to serve as senator with you as one of the chiefs that I work with over the last year, it's honestly been such a blessing. But I'm even more grateful for your friendship over the last year, and I know that you're going to do great things in your retirement, and I'm looking forward to the future for you.
Thank you very much, Senator, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Pleasure to work with you as well.
Representative?
Hey, Chief. It's been an amazing few years being in your presence. You really exude leadership and calm, and it's fantastic to be around. I remember working on the committee with you to select Mr. Cannon, and it was interesting. I was a little nervous about being around you and Chief Weston, but it was a good time, and the professionalism really came out, and I really appreciate for the last year, and especially the communication through the storm and things like that here recently, and all the things that you've done in Carver. I've watched from, as Mr. Cotter was talking about, the craziness that was over at the King Richard's Fair, down to a very manageable traffic scenario, and then ultimately the move over to Edaville. It's been really interesting watching the way that whole thing has evolved with your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you very
And,
much.
I know that with everybody here supporting you and stuff, you've had an amazing influence, not just on them, but the entire town itself.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Cannon, do you have anything you'd like to add?
The only thing I add, again, Chief, I would say the professionalism, I really do appreciate my years here coming on board, going through the budget process, going through the traffic plans. The only thing I could really add to that is, we do have some interesting visitors to Town Hall here. The Chief has always been willing to come over and help us out with those individuals. Sometimes we sit down in the small conference room, and the conversations are quite eye-opening for me. So thank you for all you do, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No. Chief, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Sure. Obviously, I didn't prepare any words either, because I didn't really want to do this, but I think everybody knows that I'm very happy to talk about our department and our town and our public safety team. It's been my honor to be a part of. I hate talking about me, and I hate getting emotional, and so we're going to make this quick. First, thanks to everybody who's here. Our department is represented well here, the public safety team, Joe, everybody who's here, select board, senator, state rep, everybody that's come out to take time to recognize me. I appreciate that. It's been a hell of a run, as somebody would say. Been here for a while. Senator's been 31 years in law enforcement, only 24 years with Carver, but
Still crazy.
I've been very, very fortunate to be part of this team, and all the things that you mentioned that we've done so well have not been me. They've been the team that we have, the people that we have out there doing the job, the select board in here doing the job they do, supporting what we need. None of this would happen without that happening. I was just happening to be the fortunate one to wear this badge while that was happening, and I've been very grateful for that. And so I thank you for this, and I'm gonna let it go with that.
All right. Well, I think we have a number of citations, so you're not going to escape without at least one photo. But before we do, I just one comment on what you had to say. You mentioned the team over at the police department, and you're correct. We have a wonderful team. But you're the leader of the team, and you built the team, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. And you're not going to get out of here without being acknowledged for it. So
Thank you. I'm very-
thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
All right. Why don't we all take a photo?
Come on. Come on up, everybody. You're all here. Come on. Squeeze them all. Come on. Take it deep. Lay down.
Thank you.
Chief Weston and Chief Ryan.
Chief Ryan.
Deputy Chief Pond. Can't say no.
I would address it. I gotta go, you gotta go. Ben, your sweatshirt.
I'm gonna be balanced out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks too much.
Thank you so
I don't need, this is yours. I'm on my way with it.
Oh, look, this is nice. Put refreshments in. Not that I drink or anything, but thank you.
sodas in there.
Stay hydrated, right? Stay hydrated.
Thank you. Oh, you?
Thing in there.
Oh, nice. I can fill this with.
Whatever. Juice.
Thank you guys very much. I forgot to mention that Matt would have been here, but he's got a family emergency.
Yeah.
He's sorry he missed it.
All right. All right. If we're ready, why don't we move along to our next agenda item, which is the approval of the opioid settlement funds in the amount of $14,500 to be used for Plymouth County outreach. Chief, I guess you have one more item before the select board before you leave.
This one, in the street. Yeah, that's supposed to be there. Thanks. If you don't mind, I'd like to bring Vicky Butler up. She's the executive director of DCO.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So thank you again, and thank you for giving a few minutes on this. My final time presenting before the board. And I'm here to ask one final favor. Back in 2015, 2016, Carver, like many towns, experienced a large increase in overdoses and overdose fatalities. And we really had no great idea on where we were going to go. Some chiefs got together and formed an idea which brought a police officer and a clinician, police officer and a representative from either High Point or Gosnell to the home of an overdose victim the day after to offer them help. And when we first started, there were many different issues we had to fight through, HIPAA and a whole bunch of different things. But the whole process was designed to help people, and we were able to help people. And that small start from Plymouth, Carver, Middleborough, and East Bridgewater eventually morphed into all 27 communities joining into it. And it's what it is today. It's called Plymouth County Outreach, and it does a lot more than just follow up on overdoses and provide help. It's not, and there's a whole bunch of other things which I'll let Vicki speak to, but we've been part of that since the start. It has definitely saved lives. It's been a good use of our taxpayers' money, our office's time. And tonight we're here to ask you to commit funds from the opioid settlement fund, which was a large lawsuit against several of the pharmaceutical manufacturers. This resulted in funds being distributed to towns and to the state. Funds that are designed to be used to support organizations just like PCO. So I would ask Vicki to talk to you a little bit about what PCO does and how she relates to it. And then I'd ask you to take a vote to support that this year. And hopefully, I know we don't need to take votes for continuing resolutions, but I'd like to leave you with, please continue to do this year after year. We have a supply of money that's coming in just for this purpose. We can't do much else with that money, and this is a very good use of it. I'll let Vicki speak a little bit if you want.
Thank you, Chief.
My name is Vicki. I'm the Executive Director for Plymouth County Outreach, but it feels great to be back in Carver, the community that I grew up in. So I grew up in Carver, lived in Carver, graduated from Carver High School, live in a neighboring community now, but my family, my parents still live here in town. I'm also someone who was personally impacted by opioids. So I have almost 13 years in recovery from heroin addiction. So I do this work for many reasons, but one of them is to help people who are currently going through what I once went through and what my family's gone through. So I've lost, friends to this and people that I went to school with. And so especially here in this community, this work means a lot to me. As Chief Billy mentioned, Plymouth County Outreach is a collaboration of all of the communities in Plymouth County. So there's 27 municipalities, and then we also work with Bridgewater State University Police Department through signed MOUs. The program started at the end of 2015, so we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. Plymouth County Outreach is a national mentor, so we were selected by the Bureau of Justice and Assistance to hold that position. We have places around the country that come here to Plymouth County to learn about the work that we're doing to bring that information back and replicate it in their own communities. We, up until this point, or I guess, still until the end of September, have relied solely on federal funding. So we've had Bureau of Justice and Assistance grants. A lot of those funds are being reallocated to other priorities with these opioid abatement funds coming into the states and the municipalities, which is why we're here asking for funds to continue to support this program that we know is saving lives. One of the statistics I wanted to highlight that we just got was, so from 2017 through 2025, we have seen a 61% decrease in fatal overdoses throughout Plymouth County. There were years where we were cited by DPH for having significant decreases in fatal overdoses when the rest of the state was seeing increases, which shows that the work that we're doing here within Plymouth County is making a difference and is saving lives. A few other things that I want to highlight is we're not an insurance-based program, so someone not having the right kind of insurance or not having insurance at all isn't going to be a barrier to them accessing services through PCO. We also don't have any wait lists. So if someone needs assistance, we're going to go out very quickly to make sure that they're getting the assistance that they need. because we know, especially through the pandemic and the mental health crises, that people end up on these, extremely long wait lists and aren't getting the services that they need. And then everything that we do is completely free to community members. We run groups out of our office. We have a drop-in center out of Kingston that anyone can walk into at any point during those drop-in hours or by appointment. And then we're out in the community doing these post-overdose follow-up visits with plainclothes police officers. Something that, before you had plainclothes police officers, Chief Billy was out doing those visits himself, which I think says a lot to the commitment that our law enforcement have for this program. So I could do an hour presentation, but I'll stop there. If you guys have any questions, I would be happy to answer any questions. I did bring a folder with a little bit of information, but if there's more information I can provide, I would be happy to do that.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. I'd just like to acknowledge your organization for all the hard work you do. I know you're at Carver Night Out every year and very visible in the community, and myself and I think on behalf of the board, we're happy to support you. You do a wonderful job, so thank you. And I'll open it up again to the board.
No, I just, sorry. My wife is kind of in that field, so I kind of see what you're going through, and obviously, I think it's a undervalued field from a standpoint of, what the state funding is, and anything that can do to help that, I'm all for.
Yeah, just thank you for your support and efforts. Is there an account that we are transferring from? How do we approve the moving of the funds from one account to another?
So if you authorize the spending, the accounts are in an opioid fund, so they're available for this type of use. All we need is a positive vote of the select board.
Okay, thank you.
Right, if I might add, so the funds that have come in, this is comes in over about a 20-year period. Carver's slated to receive about $800,000 in this money, which is very limited in what we can do. It's not limited, it's designed for this, what we're doing. And as Vicki mentioned, the COSUP grants are starting to get reallocated to other projects because the federal government is seeing that they have all this money coming in from this lawsuit. The town's got about 40% of what Massachusetts is getting. The state got 60% of it. So we are actively, we're getting the towns to put in a piece of this, and we're actively working with the state to try to get them to fund this as well.
Okay.
So what we did was we took the bare minimums operating budget for a year, divided it amongst the 27 towns based on population and calls, and came up with a number for each community, and based that number on what each community received. Some communities were hit harder. Carver was hit harder than others and got more money, some got less money. So we're trying to make this work by getting everybody to pitch in what they can from the money that we have. Right now, we probably have just under a couple $100,000 sitting in account that we can use for this. So what the plan would be is for Plymouth County Irish to prepare an invoice for the fiscal year and give it to Karen and pay that bill if you guys approve it.
Okay, so the Plymouth County Outreach would invoice the town, and then we have an account established to pull the money from. Okay.
And the amount that would be, Carver would be, getting invoice would be $14,500.
Yes.
We can always spend more than that, but that's what
You're asking for.
Yep. All right, okay, anything else?
Yep, I just want to say what a great job, and those statistics are great to hear, that we all know it's working well, but when you have those statistics, that everybody can see that the program works, so keep up the good work, and we're happy to back this.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the amount of $14,500 from the opioid settlement funds for the use by the Plymouth County Outreach Program.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
very much.
Thanks for coming
Thank you.
in.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next is a discussion, a possible vote to establish an emergency medical services building committee. Chief?
Good evening. This is kind of a fault to the feasibility study done last year, which we looked at the NS station, the Council on Aging, and the former police and fire station location. The feasibility study did show that the square footage needed for the current operation and the future operations of the EMS department is roughly 13,000 square feet. We are roughly at 3,600 square feet currently operating out of. So it is something that we should probably look at starting to see how we're going to do that and meet that feasibility study. There were some discussions about hiring a project manager and things of that nature, but with the current financial costs of the town, financial status is probably something to be better to be put on hold. But the one thing we can do that is no cost to the town is to create a building committee to start looking at all the different various things we'll look to do, including funding. And funding is going to be a big concern when it does come to this project. So I think that's something that the committee can work with as well. Like you said, nature, I know we drafted up what could be a charge for the building committee and the makeup of the committee. And that discussion for this evening. To see
Mr. Cannon, do you have the makeup of the committee?
I do. Do you want me to read it
Yeah.
off? So right now, we're recommending the EMS chief, Mr. Ryan, myself, Dave Siedenhoff, Operations and Maintenance Director, a member of the Select Board, and then Town Administrator appointee, an EMS Department representative, and 2 town residents. That should give us an odd number 7 for the committee.
So you're asking us tonight to do 2 things, authorize the committee and also appoint a select board member, correct?
Yes.
All right. Is there questions from the board? Mr. Carter?
No, I mean, I'm just thinking that, I guess as part of the committee, this committee would, I guess, look at the 13,000 square feet required, right? But also, wouldn't we be looking at, we can build something from scratch, or we can go out and look at other EMS facilities across the state. And I'm thinking, just your point about how much the money it could cost to build this facility. I just don't know, I guess the building committee would look at, can we mimic something that already exists someplace else that might fit on our site versus trying to build?
Yeah, and
Somebody has something that works, why build from scratch?
correct, yeah, and that's something we look at. Standalone EMS departments are not common, unfortunately. Most EMS departments are combined with fire departments. But there are a couple dozen throughout the state that we definitely can look at. And the other thing too is we want to look at is making sure that anything we do is, we're not looking to overextend and spend more than we absolutely have to. We're not looking for any special equipment or anything else any more than what we need just to do our operations. The same thing with the building. But the other thing too is also make sure the building, no matter where it is, if it's a remodel rehab or a building, or doing a new building out back, or taking the space next door where the old fire station used to be, to make sure it matches with the architectural design of the town, so that it doesn't stand out as a, I don't want to say sore thumb, but so that it kind of matches the design of the area. So it has a good flow with the town, makes the center, so it's an added piece to the center of town that doesn't distract from the work we've done to make sure the center of town is good. But definitely the financial side of it, and also making sure that it's comparable to whatever else is out there. We do have an idea of how we can do it for less money, and that's by making it 2 floors, for having staffing on the second floor and administrative and apparatus on the first floor. That's something that definitely could save us some money instead of trying to build a 14,000 square foot single story building, because that costs more money because of the bigger footprint. And right now next door we have where the old fire station was, that's roughly 7,000 square feet. So if we were to build right on where the old fire station was and build up a second floor, it would actually have more square footage than we need. So we'd definitely be able to back down on that and handle that a lot better, if that was the option that the building committee in the town decided they wanted to go through. But this is just the beginning stages. We also plan on having some informational meetings with the residents, hosting sometimes where they can come in, show them, go over the review of the history of the department, the history of our current building, the future, and the limitations that the building currently has and what it will have in the future, especially for the sizes of the ambulances. That is, right now, my biggest concern. The ambulance we're getting in August 2027 will fit. The replacement for our ambulance 1, which we got in 2014, which we're looking at 2034 possibly, or 2033 to replace, I can't guarantee that we'll be able to get an ambulance that will fit in that building, just because the manufacturers are getting away from building van chassis, which is what we use. And if they go to a pickup chassis, it will not be 2-line won't fit our station. So that's the concern we have. But luckily, looking at now, we have 7 or 8 years to plan for it. So that's our goal, is to make sure we plan for it. The same thing, the financial part of it, to me, is the biggest piece. I really want to make sure that we do it financially appropriately, so that with the least amount of impact on our residents as possible.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Before we move to any kind of vote, I just want to double check and make sure you're in agreement with the town administrator on the constitution of the committee. You guys have, everyone's talked about that, you're in agreement, right?
It's a very similar makeup of how the other public safety buildings were done, and I think those work exceptionally well. And I think talking to the other public safety departments, I think they were able to get great buildings that meet the needs of the department. So having that type of committee again, I think will also help us get the great building and that meets the need for the EMS.
Okay. If there's no other questions from the board, is there a motion to establish an Emergency Medical Services Building Committee as constituted, as mentioned by the town administrator?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Do you want to?
Second.
Okay, I was just going to say, do you want to say in that motion that it's going to be 4 appointments from the select board, including a member of the select board, and 3 from the town administrator?
Yeah, why don't you read,
You might want to spell
read
it
back
out.
who is on the...
Sure, so the makeup of the committee again, feedback, I'm sorry, is the EMS chief, Mike Ryan, town administrator Glenn Cannon, operations and maintenance director Dave Siedentoff, a select board member to be determined, and again, these are town administrator appointments, EMS department representative, and then 2 town residents.
Okay, and the 2 town residents would be select board appointments or town administrator?
Town administrator appointments.
There's some feedback coming off.
Yeah, there certainly is some feedback. Any thought as to whether they would be, is there a reason why you want them to be town administrator appointments and not select
I
board
believe we were
appointments?
just following the previous charge that was from the police station.
Okay,
And that, from the
That's all it was.
the previous, in the police department stuff, it was the town administrator.
that building committee was put together before I was on the board,
Yeah.
so I don't know who.
From the information we got, both the fire department and the police departments, the building committee, the town administrator appointed the 2 residents to serve on the residents to serve. And they applied, and so there would be an application process for people to submit their interests, and then, go, meet with them, and then kind of decide who would be 2 best candidates to do it.
Okay, it's up to the board.
Fine.
Yeah. Town administrator versus select board.
Well, I'm assuming that, not that this would happen, but if there was people put on that the board, for some reason, had concerns about, we still have the 15-day issue that we could turn around and change it.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, there was a motion, right?
It was, I just wanted the motion to include the nature of the appointments. That's
And
why
we'll
I asked
second
it
as
to be-
amended.
As amended.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Is there a motion for a select board appointment?
I'd like to make,
Nominate Mark Townsend?
second.
Oh, oh, thank you. Are there any other nominations? If not, I appreciate that very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain. Okay, thank you. Anything else on this, Chief?
That's all.
Mr. Chairman, if I just could. Joe Sullivan's in the office. Joe, you mind just raising your hand there? Joe is our owner's project manager. We don't have any funding to hire an owner's project manager. It has to go out to bid anyways, but Joe is a Carver resident. He's stepping up, giving us a little free services right here, helping Mike and I along as we do some community outreach. He even put together this, the charge here and the makeup of the committee, so
Okay.
Joe's helping us out, again, pro bono.
Okay, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Why don't you just come up for 1 second? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were involved in the police station building committee, correct?
Police and fire.
Okay.
And Joe, were you involved in the original school building? Yeah, I was. I've been involved in a lot.
Okay.
So, I was originally involved with the original planning of the Governor John Carver elementary school, and it evolved into the new school, and then I got involved with the Carver Fire Station and the Carver Police Station.
Well, we appreciate you offering your help.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've done, and I was explaining to Glenn earlier that I've done 19 fire stations, 9 public safety buildings, and 11 police stations. So I've had plenty of experience throughout the Commonwealth on, some of the dynamics with it. And I'm hopefully, as a Carver resident, going to help town evolve into the best cost-saving measures to make sure that this building is something we can be proud of in the next 50 years.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
welcome.
Appreciate your help, and Chief, we appreciate you coming in this evening, and look forward to moving forward in this.
Great, thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is a discussion on local elections, discussion and possible vote on the following topics. A would be vote by mail, and also in-person voting for local elections. We have our town clerk, Kara Dayhill, here with us this evening. Ms. Dayhill, thanks for coming in.
Good evening.
So I see on the first item, vote by mail, the Board of Registrars has recommended not allowing vote by mail for local elections, correct?
The first one is for early in-person voting, actually. At least that's how we took our vote in our discussion, but if you want.
Okay, well, that's, yeah, it's whatever way, that's not what's on the agenda first, but we can take it whatever way you want,
Oh,
so.
we'll go to that one then.
So which one do you want to talk about by first?
So the terminology for the vote by mail is you have to opt out of it. The state, it's an unfunded mandate for vote by mail. The cost to mail out an application to residents is just about $1. The cost to mail the ballot is over $1. So you're looking at over $2 to mail a ballot to each person. We've never done so before. We will if someone provides an application. We also offer absentee voting. We offer absentee voting right at our counter up until noontime the day before the election. So there are lots of opportunities for people to that can't come to the election that day to get to vote. So because of the expense, the great amount of work involved in mailing out ballots, the board decided not to recommend it.
Okay, so you would, the Board of Registrars are recommending that we opt out
Opt
of
out,
vote by mail.
yes, yeah.
Okay, are there questions from the board? And if not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that the town of Carver opt out of vote by mail for the local election.
Second
All
that.
right, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Just so I'm clear, but people still are able to do the absentee voting
Yes,
and mail in that?
Yeah, they can either mail in an application, we have them online, we have them on at the counter across from our counter at the desk, they can get them there. Or they can come and vote in person as absentee by filling out an application and actually vote right at the counter.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? It is unanimous, thank you. Next is our in-person early voting for local elections. And it says the Board of Registrars recommends opting out of in-person early voting. Is that correct?
Not to opt in, yes. The reason that we discussed that, we would be tying up meeting room 4 with early in-person voting. We wouldn't be able to take down the booths, they'd stay up. We really need meeting room 4 now that we're short of meeting room. So what we have, in our last town meeting, I had a citizens petition article where we voted to change the hours slightly for our election day. And as a concession, we offered a full day on Tuesday before the election, which would be the 24th, to allow for people to come in and vote at the counter. So we would have some early voting, but it would be done strictly at our counter and just between the hours of 9 and 6 p.m. So it gives people that opportunity so that they can come in and vote if that's how they prefer to do so. And it's controlled. It's not a big expense because if I have to bring in a election worker or two to help out if we're really busy, if not, it's just myself and my staff handling it. So it's economical and it's in our bylaw now.
Okay, so what you're looking for tonight is a motion from the Select Board to opt out of in-person early voting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, are there questions from the board?
I'm just confused because I thought we just said we are going to allow in-person
Well,
early
we
voting.
We made a concession in the article that I presented at town meeting that we were going to change the hours from 9 to 4 for election day, and then we would offer that Tuesday before the election to have in-person early voting just at our counter. Normally when we offer in-person early voting, we have it for a week to 2 weeks, and it's set up downstairs, and you have to staff it anywhere between 2 to 6 people in a day, because some of our days are longer for shifts. And it's a huge expense, and sometimes it's not that well. It's
So,
not
yeah,
that well.
Mr. Cannon, I just want to check with you, because I'm a little bit concerned that if we act on this motion to opt out of in-person early voting, there's no provision in there for anything else, so.
So I was going to ask, maybe we just say that we'll only allow the Tuesday before as the early voting option, and, you know, don't opt out, but only offer
I'm
the
afraid
Tuesday
of-
before as an option for early voting. We probably want to be careful how we word that, because we don't want to,
It's in our meeting minutes too, so we made sure that we covered
Okay.
that when we were having our meeting too. so
right,
that
but
we
as
didn't,
Mr. Townsend saying, Chair, is if we take this vote, then it might have canceled that Tuesday and you can't do it.
Oh, that's in the
That's what we want to be
bylaws,
careful
yeah.
about.
It's already in there, so we're going to do that part. It's just the additional, and every town, city and town has to take this vote for it, so.
So I have a question. So when we want to opt out of early voting for a local election, so what's the meaning of early voting? Is it a week or?
Generally it is.
Okay.
So say when we get to our September 1st primary, we'll have a week in August before that we're set up. And we do it usually generally in town hall hours.
Okay.
And people come in to vote for it. The Mass Town Clerks Association all across the state, they're trying to pass legislation to get that changed because towns waste a lot of money on it. It's not well participated in, and it's a huge expense for them. So that's why cities and towns are looking to get away from it. The state offers us this option that we can put it in front of you to either opt in or opt out, and the majority of registrars voted to not do it, so that's just our recommendation to you.
Because I think the confusion is if we opt out, that means there's no early person voting versus just amending the early voting process to just one day.
Well, it's already been done in our bylaw. So in my meeting minutes, I thought I gave a copy of them to you guys, but in the meeting minutes, it states that we still offer that because it's a bylaw now, that we have that Tuesday before. So the only thing that we're opting out of is the week-long early in-person voting.
I think just to make it clear to everybody,
Put it in
we
the
probably ought to
motion.
include that one day in the motion. That-
So-
That's fine, yeah, as stated in the bylaw.
Can the wording be that the town of Carver will only allow in-person early voting on the Tuesday before the local election at the town clerk office? Is that fair?
That sounds like it complies with the,
You could
what
put
you
that
need.
language in.
That would be my motion.
okay.
So my motion is only allow in-person early voting on the Tuesday before the local election at the town clerk's office.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
So I do have a question. Sorry to,
That's okay.
so the vote was, I'm just looking at the notes, so the vote was to take the minutes. It was unanimous to not recommend early in-person voting beyond what our bylaw provides for.
Right.
So wouldn't the bylaw supersede the,
The bylaw does, that's why
Okay.
it's really not an issue for here.
Okay.
So what you guys are voting on is that week of early voting.
okay,
So we're not going to do the week of early voting, we're just going to follow our bylaw, which now says that we do that on Tuesdays before the election.
so the bylaw wouldn't automatically opt us out. We have to do that every year then?
You do, every city
okay.
and town does this. It's
Okay.
kind of silly, that's why that opt-in, opt-out, I kind
Right.
of clearly put it on there, because
Okay.
it's confusing to us as well.
Right.
Certainly could be confusing to people who later watch the
Right.
meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the state's language, not mine.
Could we amend the motion to, say, to what, 9 AM to 6 PM?
Yes.
Yes.
Fine, yeah.
So Tuesday at the town clerk's office from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, and there's a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Day.
you, have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Next is the Carver, Marion, Wareham Regional Refuse Disposal District update. Mr. Carter.
Sure. A lot of things have changed since town meeting last year. And at the very beginning, when Wareham approached us to look at purchasing the transfer station, there were two components. One was price, the other one was a long-term operating agreement. And at first, we being the Carver representatives, agreed that we were looking at a higher price based on some appraisals, but we agreed on the assessed price because our main issue was making sure that we got value and a long-term operating agreement. The very first agreement that came to us from the town administrator of Wareham was a 10-year agreement. And what's interesting is these things are kind of tied together, but they're separate as well, meaning the sale of the district can only be voted and decided upon between the 3 Carver representatives and the 3 Wareham representatives. But the operating agreement the only authority to sign an operating agreement are the 2 town administrators. So, but the Carver representatives said, we're not interested in selling this transfer station unless we have a long-term agreement. So they're separate but linked. So the original agreement was a 10-year agreement from the Wareham town administrator. At a meeting with the Carver representatives and the Wareham representatives, we said that we'd like a longer agreement, 15 years with a 5-year extension, and keep the rate the same. Now, that was the non-binding referendum at last year's town meeting. And in my opinion, and the other members can correct me if I'm wrong, there was just a verbal understanding that that was the agreement as we went to town meeting and as was presented. At one of the meetings after that, the town administrator for Wareham decided that they could no longer do he originally proposed a 10-year, now he was looking at 5-year tranches, that I'd only do a 5-year deal. And then at the end of the 5-year, maybe they would extend, maybe they wouldn't, which board members felt uncomfortable with. So at our last meeting, they said that their situation, their economics had changed, that they now were not willing to buy the station any longer, that they're now on, they would now look at selling it at probably a higher price once appraisals come in as to what it's at right now. So in theory, that we would look at our meeting tomorrow night, we're going to be discussing the sale of the transfer station and the methodology, hiring an attorney, looking at a broker, what is the process for selling it. So the current contract expires on December 31st, 2026. So unfortunately, if nothing changes, it looks like services would end at the end of this year, and then the district would be sold. So I'd offer you the members, if I got any of that wrong, please feel free to correct it.
No, you didn't get anything wrong. I guess the only thing I would add is, there was substantial agreement when we went to town meeting last year with that non-binding agreement. That we pretty much had all agreed, right? Everyone on the disposal committee had agreed to that, and then we came back and it had all changed. And it's unfortunate, but not much we can do about it.
So we felt that the members felt the board had to be apprised of what was going on, even though it's kind of, just out of respect for the board's responsibilities to make sure that you knew what we knew before we go into this meeting tomorrow night and have some further discussions.
Yeah, I think especially where we had already come to the board and to town meeting with, the basis of an agreement, right? And then it all changed on Wareham's behalf, so.
And they did say that, I'm not sure what they're getting, what the internal challenges are financially with Wareham, but they did mention in our last meeting that their economic conditions had changed. What that means, I'm not really sure.
Are there questions from the board?
Yeah, so who would buy that? There'd have to be another,
We would go out and get appraisals done, and it would just be put with some kind of, probably a broker, to go out and see if that site is, they've done a lot of work to it. Wareham has put a lot of infrastructure in there, so it might be something that, I'm not sure who would go there, but it might be something that's attractive to a potential buyer.
so we don't know what the options will be for the town of Carver residents that use that currently.
Yeah, if someone was to buy it and wanted to run it as a for-profit, probably be higher costs, but right now, I think that it's more inclined that it will end as of December 31st, 2026.
Okay.
They've stated that they're not going to be running it after that, so it's going to end.
So they're stating that the end of this calendar year,
Yep,
Wareham's washing their hands of it.
that's what their plan is now. I don't know what their alternatives are, if they're going to,
Mr. Carter, just make sure you use the.
sorry, I'm not sure what the other alternatives they're looking at internally, whether it's another option or ending it for themselves, for the people, for the town of Wareham, I don't know, but it won't be at the station.
And roughly, what's the number of Carver residents that use that?
300.
300 versus how
And they
many
have,
in Wareham?
they have 3,000, I think.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Cannon, do you have anything you want to add?
I think covered it very well.
Okay. All right. Moving right along. The next item on our agenda is the announcement of the town administrator evaluation results. Members of the select board have spent the last 6 weeks or so evaluating of the town administrator, meeting with him and going through various items on our evaluation form we do every year. And I'll just give a quick synopsis of where that evaluation landed. So the first items that we rate the town administrator on are goals set by the select board for the town administrator at the beginning of every year. And that averaged out to a 2.7 average. These are scores that we evaluate anywhere from a 1 to a 5. So that ended at a 2.7. The next, knowledge, skills, and professional development, that average was a 3.12. Next, core responsibilities include staffing, personnel, financial, and management relations. That was a 3.26. The next item, item 4, leadership, board relations, and personal qualities. That was a 3.62. And the final one, community relations and communications, that ended at a 3.3 for a total average score of 3.2. So that's the town administrator evaluation. All right. And moving right along, we have our town administrator update. Mr. Cannon.
Sure, just a couple things. Mr. Chairman, I know we have a large agenda tonight. One thing I do want to update the board on was the financial software update. We had quite a discussion over the past year about updating the financial software for the town. We did put out a request for proposals, an RFP. Unfortunately, we did not receive any proposals from that or request. As a result of that, we were able to go out and solicit firms. So we have been soliciting firms. A couple of them, we currently have Vadar, that's the financial software package we're using. There's a Munis package that many communities in Massachusetts use. We're also looking at Springbrook now, and now we're bringing these in. Unfortunately, doing it this way, instead of receiving everybody's proposals and be able to evaluate them all together, this process is going a little bit slower than we had anticipated. There's at least one more. I believe it's called Earthworks. The committee that is evaluating these is a little bit concerned. Earthworks does not have any current Massachusetts municipalities under contract. Makes me very nervous. I really kind of don't want to be the guinea pig for a financial software package in the state of Massachusetts. We will take a look at them, see what they, evaluate them, see how they go, but I'm a little bit hesitant on that one. So just if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, just quickly, do you know, and you may very well not know, but offhand, how many software programs there are that operate for municipalities? Are there 5, 10?
There really aren't all that many. In fact, outside of this Earthworks, there is one more that we're going to consider. The name escapes me right now, but that's only 5. That are really out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Are other questions from the board on that?
I just had a quick question. So you said there's a committee that's looking in, can you just remind me who's on that committee? Like who's that made up of?
I know it's Mr. Townsend, Sarah
Also
Ewens,
Sarah.
certainly Karen Praval, our consultant. Shelby's on there for procurement. We have a couple of users, Jill Martin, permits manager, O&M.
Carrie Boss, I
Yeah,
think.
Carrie Boss is on there.
Pat Mahar?
Yes, Pat Mahar is on there. I'm sorry, I want to say there's like 11 or 13.
Yeah,
It's a fairly
there's
large.
somebody we're missing.
Okay.
Oh, there's a fire department representative.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jim, I don't have it right now.
Okay, no, that's no
But
problem.
it's a large committee.
Okay.
But again, we want many different viewpoints, not just the financial professionals who are on it, but the end users too. And then when we get the committee together too, I can tell you right now, actually the assessor may be on the committee, but the assessor attends, treasurer attends, they're really involved in these processes, so we want their input too.
It really is about the people that use the software on a day-by-day basis. That's what it's about. I mean, those are the people that I think need to really be the push behind the decision.
Correct, really, the pushback for the Vadar system we have right now comes from the people who use it every single day. They just find it very frustrating. They're very slow in the process to be able to process invoices. A lot of features that we had with, I'm gonna figure the name out, Springbrook, is it? A software package that's, going away, it's not being supported anymore. That had many features that Vadar doesn't have to be able to review invoices and how we pay invoices. So it's been very frustrating for staff.
Okay.
So is the plan to bring in some demo software and
Correct.
let everyone kind of use the packages and then evaluate from there, and then we'll have to decide on the cost feasibility of
Correct.
of the change?
Correct,
Okay.
that's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Is the goal that once this system is selected, that both the town and the school will be on it, and there'll be a one-year parallel before we go live with it?
Correct. The goal is to have the town and the school on the same system. I'm say that has to happen.
Yeah, I'd say it's not a goal, it's probably mandatory.
Yeah, I would say it's mandatory too, John, really. We have to have that. The only other thing I really want to update the board on is the MBTA zoning article. I know it's not going to be on the annual town meeting, but the planning board is still working on an MBTA zoning article. They're working through that process. We do have a vacancy right now, the town planner's office, so it's a little bit of a hesitancy there, or I should say, holding them back a little bit. But we do have a consultant on board, and they are moving forward with that. That's the only other thing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Let's see, moving forward, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair, 48 hours in advance. There are none. We have the approval of the minutes of February 3rd, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. We have the approval of the executive session minutes and not for release of January 29, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January, executive session minutes of January 29th, 2026, not for release.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. And finally, we have the approval of the executive session minutes and not for release, February 3rd, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of February 3rd, 2026, not for release.
I'll second that.
All right. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Now, let's see, select board announcements. Mr. Hoffman?
I just want to give a shout out to the operations, the OEM department for the recent blizzard. I know a lot of people were frustrated the first couple of days, but I thought driving through other towns, they did a great job. I know initially a lot of streets weren't passable, but within 4 or 5 days, most of the streets were. And I know there's a lot of, there were a lot of accidents, and the emergency services all worked well together. Heard a lot of great stories, and also the community. Everybody helped out. See, I know a lot of people helping out their neighbors and things like that, which was important, but I just want to give a quick shout out to them. They did a great job.
Agreed. Thank you. Mr. Carter?
I was just gonna reiterate what Jim had just said, but I was interesting is that, I'm hoping we're done with snow. But I was amazed that, like, right after the storm, the streets were a little bit tough. But then I saw this equipment, which I didn't know we had, which seemed to be going down the guardrails, reaching over and cleaning out all the snow. And then I've never seen this equipment before versus just regular plows, but it was doing a terrific job, getting the roads wider and clearer. And I was like, that was just within 24 to 48 hours, it was like a night and day. So I would agree they did a great job for the storm.
Yeah, I'd also like to say thank you to everybody, too. I mean, I had people from other towns say the roads, in the neighborhoods especially, weren't plowed for days after the storm, and they were single lane when they were, but, our O&M did a great job, catching up, and then in the days after, going up and down the roads and making sure they cleared all the snow so that it was, you could pass and see.
And I agree, and I don't want to belabor the point, but the only thing I would add is it really is remarkable when you drive around Carver or you listen in to what's going on, you see the way that all our departments, O&M, fire, police, EMS, everyone works together to get things done during these storms. So just congratulations to everybody involved, because it really is a team effort, and it's just wonderful to see the way people work together. So with that, the next item on our agenda this evening is a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the North Carver Water District. We'll take an adjourn for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back in our joint meeting. You ready? All right, good evening, everybody. I'll call the meeting back to order. We're here in a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the North Carver Water District. We have a couple of items on the agenda. We have the North Carver Water District fiscal year 2026 projected budget deficit discussion, and we have the North Carver Water District fiscal year 27 budget discussion. Before we begin, Mr. Mahar, would you like to call your meeting to order?
Okay, we'll call the joint meeting of the Finance Committee, the Select Board, and the North Carver Water District in order at 6:37.
All right, thank you. Mr. Belvin, would you like to call your meeting to order?
All right, I'm going to open up the meeting of the North Carver Water District, joint meeting with the Select Board and the Finance Committee that are here, posted in accordance with the provision of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20B. It'd be now being, 6:37. Thank Area 58 for recording this. I appreciate you guys very much. I also want to say that I usually have public comment. If anybody wants to comment during our meeting, I open that up for public comment. Since this is a joint meeting, I think if anybody wants to talk about the budget and the North Carver Water District, they can.
All right, Ms. Proval, do you have a presentation you'd like to make?
I take that as a...
Thank you to you, Mr. Chair. So today, as we look at the North Carver Water District, we're looking at FY 26.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I just got a text from someone that says that they can't hear Area 58, there's no sound at home, they're watching the meeting. So I'm not sure if there's something we can do to check
All right.
out.
Can you just double check your... Just hang on 1 second, Ms. Proval, while he double checks over there.
Okay. Isolated.
Maybe we're not talking loud enough.
Maybe.
Area 58, do you think you're all set over there? All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Belvin, did I hear you say, did you want to have public comment before we start? Is that?
Yeah, I did.
I missed
Just in
that, I
case.
think.
I mean, there's not many people here.
Okay, is
but-
there someone here that wishes to talk about this? Has a comment on the North Carver Water District? Okay. Sorry, Bob, I did
No,
not.
no, it's like I said, it's, if the public are here, they want to talk, give them the
No,
opportunity.
that's fine. Ms. Proval, back to you.
Good evening to you, Mr. Chair. I've been working with Mr. Belvin, and just to go over a status of where we are for North Carver Water District for FY 26. We have a budget of $650,000 that was appropriated. As of spent today is $532,816. Looking at projected expenses, which includes money that we paid to engineering service, water bills, and the distribution officer, distribution operator, I'm estimating an additional, I'm estimating $581,515 being expensed for FY 26, which would leave a shortfall of $230,097. I'm requesting a $250,000 supplemental to the FY 26 budget.
All right, Mr. Cannon, do you have a comment on that?
I know we'll be discussing our next agenda item, so we're projecting a special town meeting to cover that shortfall. That's all.
Okay.
So you're planning a special town meeting within the annual?
Yes.
Okay, to cover the shortfall, thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak about that.
Sure.
Okay, so we submitted a budget last year. It was cut down by the Board of Selectmen to $650,000. I asked at town meeting, how are we supposed to spend this? I mean, you guys didn't give us a budget of how we're supposed to spend our money. The DEP gave us an order. Said, guess what? You didn't comply before. We gave you an opportunity to comply. all right, where that had $100 a day for each violation, which is 15 violations, all right, that was not met prior to me coming in to this job. That's a total of $547,000 plus if we did not comply for 1 year. They came back and said, okay, fine, you're not in compliance, here you go. They gave us a order that included two $25,000 fines, that if we don't come in compliance. They have not come after us for this because they know that we're trying to resolve the DEP issues. The DEP issues was not included in the budget that you guys cut, okay? So we had to make a choice. We made a choice that we're gonna comply with the DEP, we're gonna hire a distribution operator, we're gonna hire an engineering company, someone who specializes in water, all right, because that's what we need. We don't need some fly-by-night town one that's, they're like jack of all trades. We need someone special. That's what we did. All right, we went for that, and they're doing an awesome job, and they're almost done with what needs to be done. So this expenditure of the $250,000 is well spent, because I'd rather be spending it complying with DEP and then giving them fines of $500,000. Okay, so I have to say this. It says, I'm ashamed of the select board cutting it to 50,000, 500,000, 650,000 last year, okay? Because we knew we needed to do this. We gave you a budget that was itemized budget of what needed to be done for this year, okay? We didn't get everything done we needed to be done because we didn't have the money. We've actually not done things because we didn't have the money, okay? Now, I also want to say is that me being here is costing me money because I had to take time off from work, okay? Me plowing to get to the water because the town didn't plow cost me money, okay? I am committed to the North Carver Water District, okay? I really want to say this. I says, what did you expect us to do, knowing you cut our budget? I really want an answer from the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is the appropriate place for a back and forth, but I will.
Well, it is. No, Mr. Chairman, I have to say it is. We're talking about an expenditure of funds.
Okay, Mr. Belvin.
It's a joint meeting. I'm trying to give you the respect, but I'm sorry, but the public has a right to know what you expect us to do.
Mr. Belvin, okay, the town administrator is here. He made a budget recommendation to us last year. We followed his budget recommendation. I'm going to give him a chance to talk about the budget recommendation he made to the select board and the finance committee.
Sure, I'll be happy to. So I do believe that the $650,000 budget was adequate to run the North Carver Water District. I think that you should look at alternatives for your distribution system operator. We had to be able to do it within town, the town budget before. We also had the town of Middleborough helping us out just before you hired this gentleman. And we would continue to work with him. We think that's a better alternative for the funds that you're using for the distribution system operator. I mean, right now, our plant is not pumping any clean water at all, right? So, you know, I'm not really quite sure why we need the separate distribution operator when the town of Middleborough could have been doing this job for us.
I can tell you that because the town of Middleborough wasn't going to do it for us. They were asked. They came to a meeting and they said they don't want to do it. Okay, they didn't want to be a distribution operator. Okay, we had no choice. The town didn't have a distribution operator in staff. Plus, the North Carver Water District is a separate entity from the town of Carver. This is the issue that we have, all right, that it was created as a separate entity. As being a separate entity, being commingled with the town got us into the problems that we are in now. It should have been run as a separate institution. That's what I started to do, and that's what we're doing, okay? So what you're saying is incorrect. And if you came to our meetings before, you would know it's incorrect.
I attended many of your meetings, Bob.
You haven't been at any meetings this year, and a lot now last year.
I've been in many of your meetings. Again, I would stand by this. I also think with the DEP, at the same time you were going through your DEP mandate, the town of Carver was going through a DEP mandate for the municipal well right here at Town Hall. We were able to just discuss with the DEP, come up with a schedule that fit our budget so we'd be able to work with them and accomplish the goals that they wanted to. I think that you could have negotiated a better deal with the DEP to get that done. I'd also take a harder look at your engineering contract. right now, if I look at that engineering contract, right, there are provisions in there for the procurement of water meters, right? And we do need to have the water meters replaced.
Yeah.
But you're paying $27,000 to the engineer to do procurement. That's something that we should be doing in-house, to save $27,000. There are many cost savings within that plant that the town can take over. The town had run it for years, helping the North Carver Water District keep that budget down. And I believe we can continue to do that. We also have legislation pending for anybody who doesn't know, for the town to take over the North Carver Water District. Once the town does take over that North Carver Water District, again, these services that we can do with town staff, we will continue to do with town staff, and that'd be a savings of the taxpayer, well, and the ratepayers for the North Carver Water District.
I disagree with some of his comments.
And that's fine. And that's fine. But I think we have to remember what the goal of all of us being here is, okay? And it's not to push blame back and forth. It's to find a solution to the problem that's in front of us, which is a deficit in the North Carver Water District budget. And that's why I think we're all here, at least aside from talking about next year's budget, is to find a solution to this problem. Mr. Mahar, I want to take a minute to turn it over to you and hear your thoughts as chairman of the Finance Committee.
Well, I think that one of the things that I see as problematic, as Mr. Belvin said, is that they're a separate entity. And it just seems like they're kept as a separate entity very strategically and very intentionally, does not work along with the town, does not have a mutually cohesive relationship. And I think if that had happened, and if that was the case, they refused to, but if that was the case, then I don't think we'd be in quite the problem that we are now. Anybody else
So-
on the FinCom?
I'd like to respond.
Go ahead. Okay.
So are you saying because I came into this position that I'm the issue? Or are you saying that prior to...
No,
what I'm saying-
we're not going to get into personalities here tonight, okay? We have an issue in front of us. We're going to do our best to solve the problem. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're
Well,
here
he's
for
talking about
tonight.
the separation, and then there is a clear, it was by the legislation that created the North Carver Water District, all right, that the North Carver Water is being a separate entity, okay? Now, working in between the town, okay, the only interaction that North Carver Water District and the town really has is the finance office, to be totally honest, okay? The town tried to do the North Carver Water District with a town employee to run the system, and that didn't work. They had to hire another company to come in, all right, and they did. So it's always been created as a separate entity. It's nothing new, all right, just different people here.
I understand that. I also understand that town meeting did take a vote on special legislation, which is currently pending before the Mass legislature to abolish the North Carver Water District and turn it over to the town. We all also need to realize that the town administrator did set up a working group between a number of people in the town, Finance Committee, Select Board, North Carver Water District, and various departments in town to have meetings from time to time to try to work together to bridge this gap. I know he's invited members of the North Carver Water District.
When?
At least for the meetings I've been to, no one's ever attended.
When? I was invited? When was this?
Multiple
This
meetings.
is kind of news to me as well.
Yeah, this is news to me.
I've been informed that you have been invited.
I'd like to know exactly dates. I want to know when I was emailed for those, all right? Because I'll tell you what, it's news to me, and everything that I get, I send to my other members, so...
Mr. Cannon, please get Mr. Belvin the dates, and
Sure.
going forward, please copy me on the invitation you send to Mr. Belvin and his committee, so we know that there's a member of the North Carver Water District that's invited to that meeting. Okay? Because it's important.
I just would like to point out that I don't have a town email, so I wouldn't have received anything. I usually would get notified through the chairman, and he's been very good at forwarding things, but I have not been invited to anything, and I don't know if it's an oversight, and I'm not going to blame anybody because I really want to focus on getting the plant up and running, but just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Okay, so we're sort of going around here. I want to open it up to the to the select
Can I ask a
board.
question?
Sure, go ahead.
So it's a separate entity currently, and we're funding based on a budget that was voted on, and we overspent on the budget, correct? Am I correct?
Oh, yes.
So why do we overspend? Because of the DEP? In other words, are we obligated to stay with the budget that we voted on? Or are we not obligated to just spend as much as we need to on this project? And I'm just trying to think of what the will of the town was at the meeting, that we voted a budget for this, and we're overspending, and regardless of all departments, not just yours, what was the oversight that we ended up spending $230,000 more than what we budgeted? Now, I get it, you don't agree with the budget, I get that. But are you authorized to overspend that out of necessity? Yes.
So I can answer through you, Mr. Chair. So
Yes.
I can answer the question. They're not allowed to overspend. So we are not allowed to go over our appropriations. So as I work with the departments, if I see that there's a necessity for money, and with the North Carver Water District being a separate entity and the DEP mandate, there were 2 contracts that had to be awarded. It was a Tata Howard engineering contract that was $109,000, and then we had the distribution officer. We still have the water costs that we know and can average, but those were some of the 2 contracts that were initiated. I cannot pay invoices for contracts that have been initiated if we don't have enough funding. So as I'm looking at the budget and I'm looking and monitoring expenses, I realize that we do not have enough money to cover paying all the bills through June. And I mentioned to Mr. Belvin, we need to come to the select board to request additional funding, because if the bill comes in June and there's no appropriation, I cannot pay it. And so what that would require would be coming and doing a special town meeting. And since we were having a town meeting in April, I thought it would be most beneficial to include this additional money to cover some of these expenses. And so each month I monitor what's coming in terms of what I'm projecting, looking at past year's expenses. And I can't move forward with paying things if there's not enough.
So my follow-up question is, did we know about these contracts at town meeting? Were we already obligated by those contracts, or is this something that is new after town meeting?
These contracts, I believe, were signed after town meeting, and they were strictly for FY26. And so but I can let Bob speak on this.
So I want to make it clear here, is that, again, we had DEP basically saying, if you don't do anything, we're going to stop fining you. Okay? So we had to make a choice to hire people to do these jobs. And we did. That's number one. Number two is we got a $100,000 bill from Middleborough for water. $100,000 in 3 months, for 3 months of water. Okay? Why? Because they increased their water rates 2 times since I've been here. Okay? They did it at the beginning, and we were never notified. When I finally found out, they were doing their second one. Okay? So the contract that was created through the prior members was 1.5 times Middleborough's water rate. Our rate back then was okay, it was comparable back then. But once they started increasing the rate, we had to increase our rates, but we can only increase it so much. Or we're gonna turn around and hurt the 135 people and residents and businesses, say, hey, listen, if we go and say, these guys, you have to pay for all of the water that comes in, all right, and all of the fees, okay, their bills are probably gonna be 2-3 times as much now if we put all that money on them. And it's not their fault, all right, of the issues that came up prior to me taking over. Okay, so we're in a quandary, because if this budget doesn't get passed, all right, and what it looks like in this draft here, it's already been determined, all right, I just seen it now, okay, that what's gonna go on for this, and we can't go to town meeting and increase the budget, because that's against our bylaws. Okay, you can decrease it, you can't increase it, all right? So we're gonna have the same issue next year, all right, with the budget. But the stuff that we have now, that 250, I don't think is enough, to be totally honest, to comply with what we need, because the next bill from Middleborough is gonna come in, and we had a major leak up here in North Carver, where that water was flowing for, what, 11 to 13 hours? Flowing and flowing. Money for Carver residents, gone. All right, why? Because it wasn't taken care of. It's a little friggin' shack of a building with this much insulation and a little stinky heater in there to keep them warm in there, and it clearly wasn't. All right? And the meter blew because it froze and thawed and whatever, and it blew. So
I mean,
who's gonna pay for that?
I get, there's a lot of nuances to this. My concern is that we went over the budget, and like I said, for the taxpayers' knowledge, that's my concern right now, is if I'm watching this, I wanna know why did we go over almost $250,000 over the budget? What caused it?
Yeah.
So that's all I'm asking. I understand there's a lot of nuances to this, whole thing.
Mr. Maher, hang on one second. Mr. Cannon, do you have a response to Mr. Macrina? On that?
So the only thing I can tell you is, so right now, right, they're actually still in the black, but we have bills coming in, we know, from the town of Middleborough to pay for the water. And what Ms. Praval is saying is if we don't cover the $250,000, what will happen is we will not be able to pay our water bill to Middleborough, right? And then they are supplying us the only clean water for our residents and our businesses in the North Carver Water District. So these are, if you will, anticipated bills coming in. We get a bill every quarter. We know we're going to get at least 2 more quarters.
So next, going forward, should we anticipate more, I'm assuming, for paying Middleborough more?
Well, I don't think it was paying Middleborough more. It was actually the engineering services and then the contract with the distribution system operator that really are not within the budget.
I was gonna say, the next sheet in the
Hang on,
presentation.
Mr. Maher has been waiting a while, and then we'll go to you, Mr. Ryan, okay?
So the status of it as we speak is this budget is not overspent at the moment.
Right.
Okay, and we're looking to say that it needs some extra funding. I think that's got to get looked at a little closer. And I know that, and I go way back with water situations in the town and the schools and so forth. And anytime that we've had some circumstances that we've had to deal with the DEP, they've been very cooperative as long as they know that we're putting some effort into it, that we may have some budgetary issues that we're working on. So I don't think that they are going to come slamming down with heavy fines if they know that we are giving a good effort. And I think that's the approach to use. And I think that once this budget does get up to its limit, that there has got to be some kind of a process to provide for spending beyond the budget, some kind of an approval process. And, you can talk all you want about, being a separate entity and so forth. You're still a part of the town. You're still part of this group. And if you're going to intentionally ignore that, then you do it at your own peril.
So I just want to be clear here, just quickly before we move on. So Mr. Cannon, is it your recommendation that the way we deal with the shortfall in the North Carver Water District is through a special town meeting and this warrant article, you have in front of us the draft warrant article for the special town meeting?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to be clear to everybody that they're in the list of the warrant articles that I see on our agenda. There is no line item for this special town meeting warrant article, so we won't be able to vote on this tonight.
Correct. We won't be able to vote on it tonight.
So I'm going to ask you to put it on our agenda for April 10th, for the next meeting, March 10th. Okay? Invite whatever members of the Finance Committee want to attend, invite whatever members of the North Carver Water District want to attend, and we'll discuss that warrant article at that time, because it's not on this agenda. But I do want to give everyone a chance. Mr. Ryan, I know you had your hand up, and then Ms. Selgo will go to you, okay?
Oh, I was just going to say that the next slide that's in the presentation covers the shortfall areas. It shows what was spent to date in the categories, because I know those questions have been running around. But when you're ready to go to the next slide, hopefully that'll answer a bunch of the questions on where the shortfall happened.
Yeah. Anything, Ms.?
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
So I just, for my own knowledge, for a resident or a family living in a town of Carver, if you're in one of these houses, you know, how much does it cost per quarter per family? And is it cheaper coming from Middleborough or when the North Carver Water District was up and running? Is it 100 a quarter, 400 a quarter? I'm not sure.
Well, it varies, all right, but
What would like an average home?
an average is somewhere around $150 to $200, somewhere around there. But
From Middleborough?
no, that's from us.
Okay.
All right, Middleborough, that's a whole different ballgame because they're sending us one lump sum bill for all the water that comes in.
And then how much we charge in that same family?
I have to go look because we just increased it and it's on our website, what we increased it to, but we're gonna have to increase it again, no matter what.
I'm just wondering, like, how comparable is it? And I had another question for you.
Bob, could you get that information to the town administrator so you can share it with everybody?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay.
Everything's there.
Go ahead.
So the finance committee has the reserve account. Can the North Carver Water District, if they had to, ask for money from that reserve?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, they can, but we have other shortfalls that we are going to be reserving, we're going to need to use those funds for.
But they can
So,
still come and ask.
yes, they can. Yes,
Yeah,
they
then
can.
It's up to us to decide.
They can. But I feel that, you know, I cannot pay the bill unless we have the funds available. And one thing I want to make very clear, I understand that North Carver Water District, they have more expenses than we have funding. But we still have to be mindful that Mass General Law, you cannot spend more than your appropriation. So if you have a budget of $650 and you have $1 million worth of expenses, you have to figure out a way to cut down on what you're spending because
Same as these other departments have.
exactly, but they allow us at the end of the year to do that budget transfer. But this amount I felt needed to go to town meeting because it's a very large amount. And I wanted to just mention for the doing a reconciliation for the water. So I received all the bills from the treasurer in terms of what the residents are being billed, consumption, meter size, and so I'm doing entire analysis in terms of what the consumption is being used, what they're being billed, and what we're actually paying the Middleborough. So I'll be to share that with everybody when that analysis is done, and I'll be working with Bob on that.
We do have a very long meeting. Mr. Hoffman's had his hand up for a while, so I'm going to give him a question. Then Ms. Proval, if you could move on with your slideshow presentation.
I just have one quick question. Can you go back one slide? Oh, sorry. So, yep, that's perfect. Nope. Okay. So what's being recommended is $250,000 at the special town meeting. If I'm reading this correctly, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, so that the engineering company and the distribution operator, that's basically $235,000.
There's $65,000 of meters in there too, so
Okay.
it's not.
Yeah.
That's the next.
No, but what I'm saying is the 250, so basically if the amount that we're trying to get at the town meeting will basically cover the engineering and the distribution operator. So the deficit, because I know like Mr. McCreaner had asked, where would that deficit? So the engineering and the distribution, distribution operator, that basically is a big chunk of this shortfall in your opinion?
Not necessarily, because we didn't know that we were gonna get a $100,000 bill from Middleborough for water.
Okay.
That's $100,000 right there.
Right, but what I'm saying is, the shortfall, the projected shortfall is 231,000, say, if the way it's currently. And if I add up the engineering and the distribution operator, which is needed because of the DEP issues.
Right.
So we might have had enough to cover everything.
So the distribution operator,
Yep.
it's somewhere gonna be around $65,000 to $70,000 a year for him.
Okay.
He's not getting, because he's only working so many hours.
Okay.
Because he is collecting a pension from the state, because he can only make so much.
Okay.
All right, so he's getting paid $120 an hour to do his job, okay?
Okay.
And he's only doing 10 hours a week.
Okay, so it's half of what's up on this side,
Right.
okay. I'm just trying to figure that number in my head.
I
just to
understand.
see what.
No problem.
All right, great, thank you.
Quick question on this slide before we move on. If you could just go back one more time. So of that, Mr. Belvin, of that $230,000 projected deficit that's up there, is the $65,000 meter replacement, is that part of that deficit?
Yes.
So wouldn't the 60, I'll ask you, if that's part of FY '26, wouldn't that come from capital outlay last year?
We didn't have this request
But
for last year.
wouldn't meter replacements, wouldn't that be a capital request?
It would be.
So wouldn't that be more appropriate to go to the capital outlay committee than be funded through a special town meeting warrant article?
So Eric's gonna be going to them and asking for that money.
Okay,
All right, so that's, like I said, this all money was put in the original budget that I submitted to you guys.
but wouldn't that $65,000, whether it's this year, next year, whenever it is, shouldn't it have gone to capital outlay for their review? That's a capital request.
But we're a separate entity, so I'm not sure how that goes, to be totally honest.
So through you, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The way we used to work this is, yes, that would come to the capital outlay and we would talk about the capital item. However, it wouldn't have been something we would have funded from our pool of money, but we still would have discussed it there.
Okay.
It would have been just like the ambulance being purchased from the EMS.
So you would have made a recommendation?
We would have,
To the
but
select.
it wouldn't have come out of that same capital fund of money we have.
Okay.
They would have paid for that.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the meters, in terms of moving forward, they haven't been done. We never received a capital request for that last year. So as this came up, I had it included in the budget as capital outlay, which you can put in the operating budget. But as you're saying, it can also go through the capital committee because it is a capital expense.
I just want to say one other thing about water meters. Water meters are once we buy them, then we bill the residents for those water meters. So that 65,000 allows us to buy the water meters outright, have enough to cover us, and have a plan, because that's part of the DEP. We have to have a plan to replace meters. But I can't create a plan to replace meters if we don't have the meters. So we need to show them that we have the meters, we have a plan in place, and this is how we're gonna do it. And that 65,000 will fund future meter replacements, that's my plan, future meter replacements as we go forward. So once we get money in, that money gets put into a separate account so we can go ahead and start paying those off for the future.
Okay. Ms. Praval, let's move along.
For this presentation, everyone in their handout has information showing where we have the shortfall. So we show the budget of the 650,000, and we have the areas where we're projecting having a shortfall in that particular area. I'm just going to go through this briefly since everybody has it. And, as we mentioned before, the majority of the shortfall, Mr. Hoffman, that you were wondering, 65 is coming from the meter replacements, and then through other professional services. If you want to go to the next slide, it says FY '26 other professional services detail. This kind of gives you a detail of that other professional services line because it includes different things. So we have money for the distributor on the first line. You can see that the larger costs within this budget are falling under the underwater, the TAT and TAD Howard engineering firm. So I just wanted to show a detail. A lot of people ask, well, what's part of other professional services? So this gives you a detail of what's included in that line item. And that's all I had for FY '26.
Yes.
140 sitting here. For the 140 sitting here for the town of Middle Water, has that been kind of used for the group that, water gallons coming out?
I'm still waiting to find out how much that costs. I sent an email to Middleborough, say, hey, what are we talking? How much are we talking? I haven't received that email yet. He's still doing plow jobs out there. So I know it's not high on the priority for him, but I sent him a whole bunch of questions for it. So who knows how much that's going to be? I'm estimating somewhere around $24,000 to $30,000 worth of water.
The next section of the budget was the FY '27 North Carver Water District budget request. Departments have a copy, the select board has a copy of this in their binder, and it shows what was funded, what.
Did the finance committee get those copies?
I'm not. I'm not sure.
Copy?
I'm not sure if you have it in your packet for this meeting.
It's not in our package either,
Oh, it's
so.
not?
No.
I emailed it to you, so you
Right.
have this presentation. Yes, it is.
Mr. Mahar, has the Finance Committee reviewed the North Carver Water District budget for 2027?
We have not. Not officially, no.
Was there a reason why you didn't review it?
Well, we had a presentation of it, and there was no vote. And I don't know what you're.
I'm asking, you, normally in these different types of budgets, the Finance Committee makes a recommendation to the Select Board on the budget. So I'm asking if you reviewed the budget and made a recommendation.
We have not.
Okay, do you plan on doing that?
I thought that would be part of the vote on the warrant articles.
Okay,
Through you, Mr. Chair, we met with every department
okay.
to set up meetings to go over the FY27 budget request. There was a slot for North Carver Water District, and at the time, Mr. Belbin was not able to make that meeting. And that was mainly due to the fact that we had a budget set at 650 in terms of what we're able to find, and that budget request was a lot higher. So we haven't had that meeting because there was no one present at that time.
Mr. Cannon, have you reviewed the North Carver Water District budget? Do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I do. I do have a recommendation.
Okay.
The recommendation is for, again, to hold it at the $650,000. There is a slide here showing the differences between the two budget requests. If I look at their budget request, I see it's heavily on the capital side. This is, if the town takes it over, all capital projects will go to the capital planning committee. Right now, as far as I know, there has not been an engineering assessment of the existing plant. I believe that needs to be done before we put money into capital here of the existing plant to get it back up and running. I'd like to have somebody who's knowledgeable on water systems tell me what needs to be done there before I invest money into a plant that I don't know is will pump clean water.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Bell.
All right, so I need to explain this.
Thank you.
When I first took over, I wanted to hire someone to come do this, and it wasn't in the budget.
Thank you.
Couldn't afford it. All right, so we had money in the budget that we presented to you guys to do that, and you guys took that away from us. All right, so for the town administrator to turn around and say we want to hire an engineer to evaluate it, well, we are now 2 years out here now. 2 years the plant's not running, it's sitting there, it's getting worse, all right, because it's sitting there collecting rust, all right? It's gonna cost a lot more to get it up and running, but you know what? We have commercial developments that wanna build and want water, okay? And we can't provide them water in Middleborough. Last I heard, they said, nope, we're not gonna give you water for commercial entities, okay? So I have to say that had you allowed us the funding last year, okay, then we would have been able to do it. We weren't able to do it because we weren't given the funding. We had to make a choice. Do we hire an engineer for the plant or do we do DEP? We chose DEP. That's number one. Number two is, I have to say this. You wanted at 650 here. If the legislation passed and you take it over, we have to understand what is, you're the commissioners, you're gonna be the water commissioners, it's up to you to decide how it's gonna be done and what's gonna be done. So you have to tell the public now, what is your plan for the North Carver Water District in the future, okay? Because if we're stuck with a budget here of what he's saying 650, which isn't enough because even what we have now isn't enough this year. Clearly next year it's not gonna be enough either. And if you take it over next year, how are you gonna be within the budget? Because you're gonna be in the same boat. Because I'm gonna sit there at town meeting and I'm gonna question you guys about it and say, hey, why are you overspending? Why do you want $1 million? All right, well, Bob Belvin, he was asking for that before and now you want it. So bear in mind, it's not enough.
Well, so I'm going to respond, and if other members of the board would like to respond, please do so. But I think one of the really important reasons that the town administrator set up that working group that brought all people from the finance committee. I think Mr. Hoffman, I think you're part of that working group. Dave Seatontoff, I was told he invited people from the North Carver Water District.
This is the first I'm hearing.
The
This is the
reason,
first- yeah, first we're hearing it.
I'm not questioning that, but the reason that working group was put together was so that we could work through these problems and try to find out what services the town could absorb, what they might not be able to absorb, or what they might have to go out and contract for, or hire for, or do whatever. And that's why that group was there. It's been a struggle to get that going because we haven't had anyone from the North Carver Water District
Because
there.
we don't know about it.
Again,
That's the first I'm hearing about
the
this
town
right
administrator is gonna go back in his records
I would happily
and,
join a
and
working
find
group.
that information. But going forward, I think we need to have more cooperation so that we can see what can we do, what can the town take over, and maybe it won't cost us any more. What do we need to go out and hire for? We need to explore these things. And that's my comment on that, and I'll open it up to anyone else that has something to say. But I guess before I open it up, we have a lot of budget challenges this year, and we need to resolve this issue because we have substantially different budgets in front of us, recommended by the town administrator and being requested by the North Carver Water District. And that's going to be something we have to resolve, and we're not going to have a whole lot of time to resolve it. And with that, are there any other members of the select board that would like to comment on this?
Yeah, just, I guess, my 2 cents. I remember.
Mr. Carter, just make sure you speak into the microphone.
Yes. I'm remembering last year, I think I voted against the 650 budget because I think your water commissions at the time were recommending 750, but I know there was also $1 million plus number out there at the time. So even if we had done that, we would have been over. And I think it's, the unknown is the issue of, Middleborough, the water rates, the increase in the water rates and the additional work that's going to be done to water because of this valve that got blown. But I think, and it's been said a couple of times here tonight, on paper, you are separate, right? And there's a couple of crossovers, the finance component and everything else. But I think in reality, you really got to lean on operations and town staff to try to save some money on some of these line items when we have these overages. I'm not sure how much we could have saved or whatnot, but I know the town administrator talked about some potential savings. But I just think that, lean on the town, even though in black and white on paper we're not supposed to lean on them to try to find some way to reduce some expenses operationally when you run into it. That's my 2 cents.
Anyone else? Anyone from the finance committee?
I got a question. So the group that we put together, if you, on a 1 to 10, 10 being the finish line, where do you feel that the group is right now to do the study of what needs to be done? I mean, just for simple terms. Are you at the beginning stages, would you say? Are you?
No, I'd say we're at mid-level, but we have been held back just from the cooperation from the North Carver Water District. Also, the town of Middleborough really doesn't want to deal with the town of Carver right now as an entity because it is still under the control of the North Carver Water District. So we haven't had any discussions about a future water agreement with them, which is one of the first steps that we need to do. If we have control of it today or tomorrow, the first thing I do is to reach out to the town of Middleborough about a water agreement, a long-term water agreement. That's the only viable option right now for providing clean water. Then the second thing is to get an engineer in there to do an evaluation of the plant to see how much it'll cost us overall to get that plant up and running. And then at that point, it's a financial analysis, right? Which one is more cost beneficial to the town and the residents and the businesses in North Carver.
Mr. Bell.
Yeah, so I want to take this. First, the contract with Middleborough, we didn't have anything. This was prior to us, that contract that was created, okay? We have tried to reach out to Middleborough to go ahead and to get an agreement with them, a new one, all right, to cover us, because that's part of a DEP. We have to get an agreement with them. Well, they don't want to talk to us. They want to talk to the town of Carver. Now we're hearing they don't want to talk to the town of Carver because they want to talk. So we're really banging our heads here against the wall. All right, that's number one. All right, because we have tried numerous times to our lawyer to go out and to try to get an agreement with Middleborough, and it hasn't worked. That's number one. Number two is You're talking a $650,000 budget here, okay? Is your engineering that you want to do on the plant included in the 650?
I'll look at the engineering when I get to it. I can tell you right now, I'll look for that. We have other funding sources we can pull into.
But this is the
Okay.
North Carver Water District. We're talking here about next year's budget. You're talking about hiring an engineer to go through that. And I can tell you anywhere in between $60,000 and $90,000 to have that done.
If I can cut down that budget enough to get $60,000 to $90,000 out, that's where the money will come from.
Out of the budget?
Out of the budget.
How are you gonna do that, knowing how much it costs to run it?
I think if you look at this thing right here, if you look on the left-hand column there, where it's the FY '26 budget, you see all the blank spaces there where you have the North Carver Water District budget has dollar figures in there. Again, those would be the first things that cut right out. And if I look at them all, I see many of those are capital items.
Wait, I don't have that slide, I don't think, here. Because mine has all,
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is the last slide of the budget, and this is the budget request that I received from
Okay.
North Carver Water Districts.
I'm just seeing what you
explaining
actually
the
are cutting
needs.
here. Security and fire alarms, town secretary services, landscape and plowing, okay, meter readings. These are already conducted by the town. So, I mean, computer upgrades, we need a new computer, period. Plus, we need all the programs redone for the new plant. Plus, we need touchscreens for it. In order for you to do any engineering stuff, that has to be done first, all right? And you don't have budgeted money for that. Electrical work and lighting, I've actually asked for money from the O&M because they had money to do lighting. I was told they had it, and then I was told they don't have it, and then I found out that, oh my God, they do have money for it, but not for us. All right, electrical work, we still do have problems with our wiring. Grant writing services, I don't think we have a grant writer, but we need one, because if we want to upgrade this system and put a water tower in, we can get grants through state and federal avenues. Okay, but we need a grant writer for that. So you need that drastically. Middleborough water bill, you don't have anything for that. I put 240,000. So how are you gonna pay the Middleborough water bill, all right, that clearly we don't pay enough in our water expenses, that we charge people for it? You don't have anything in there for that.
I think there's a lot of questions in the discrepancies between these two budgets. Mr. Mahar, let me ask you, or through you to your committee, based on what you see here tonight in the argument, do you feel confident that you can vote on a North Carver Water District budget this evening?
No.
No.
Part of one of my big concerns is you've got an entity that is providing a large budget request.
I understand
and
that.
you've got another entity that may have to end up inheriting it, and I think that that's a lousy organization.
We have a very large discrepancy between the town administrator's proposal and the North Carver Water District's proposal. To the members of the select board, based on what you see tonight and the arguments you've heard, do you feel confident that you can vote on a North Carver Water District budget tonight?
No.
I don't either. So I think what we need to do, Mr. Cannon, is you need to get together sometime during the week with Mr. Belvin, whether it's in person, on Zoom, on the phone, whatever works for your two schedules. And you need to refine a budget, or at least refine a proposal that you can bring back to us next week that we can vote on. And I would ask if members of the Finance Committee are available and you'd be able to accommodate us with a joint meeting for a short time just to vote on this budget, or anything else that you'd like to discuss next week, we'd certainly accommodate you. And same to the North Carver Water District. But we have a lot ahead of us tonight, and I don't think we're going to resolve this issue right now, because there's just, the discrepancy is too great. And I think you and Mr. Belvin really need to work some of these things out and come back to us with a more refined proposal. Yes, Ms. Selger.
And next Tuesday I think it's Tuesday, the 11th, the Capital Outlay Committee's meeting, if you'd like to come there and talk about the capital items, we would love to have you.
Yeah, Eric's gonna attend.
Just one correct, Wednesday is the 11th.
Oh, Wednesday.
Tuesday is the
I'm
10th,
sorry,
Wednesday is the
Wednesday
11th.
the
It's okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I don't know if you saw my last meeting, I should say our last meeting, I apologize.
I did.
Our last meeting, one of the last things I said about our budget is, if the legislature approves it, I want to set up you guys for success. That's what I said, okay?
As did I.
Our budget there is for the future, okay? And whether it's gonna be us sitting in those chairs or you guys, you need to be set up the right way, that you have the right funding to go ahead and do all these things, and you come to town meeting and you say, you know what? This is what we're gonna do.
And I appreciate that, and I think I speak on behalf of the board that I appreciate that. I just know that, I know the budget challenges that are in front of us this year, and I'm hoping when you guys are $650,000 apart, that if the two of you talk during the week, that you can maybe find some common ground where the town can help out with this, but maybe he does need that, and you can come back to us with a proposal. If you can't get agreement, maybe you can at least get closer, and we can make some choices, because clearly we have to resolve this issue.
And I would just like to say that if there is a group kind of going over this stuff, I would absolutely love to attend. I'm sitting on this commission because I would like to see the North Carver Water District succeed, whether it's under this commission or under the Board of Selectmen, because it's important for the town, it's important for our development. So future meetings, please do make sure that you invite us. Thank you.
It would be great to have a member of the North Carver Water District there. So, all right, before we adjourn this portion of our joint meeting and let Mr. Belbin and Ms. Shea go home, are there any other questions from anybody here this evening? Yes, Mr. Ryan.
Just my comment is, and maybe speaking for the residents and the taxpayers, is how do we economically provide water to the residents? What's the best way to do this? I think that's what's got a lot of people hot here, is that when do you decide that we've got a 30-year-old car, you know, with a lot of problems, and we just can't keep throwing money at that 30-year-old car. We've just got to either buy a new car or lease a car or come up with another option. So I think the thing that the taxpayers want to know is, you know, how do we efficiently spend our money to provide water to the North Carver, and I know we keep saying, let's get a study, let's look at this, let's look at that. We just haven't done that yet, and I think that's the dilemma here, is that we just haven't been able to get that analysis that says, do we buy a new car, do we fix the car we have, or do we just lease a car? You know, what options do we have? And I don't think it's clear, and that seems to be part of the dilemma of trying to understand. Can we afford $1.3 million, or are we throwing bad money after something we shouldn't be doing here? I mean, I think that's what we're struggling with, and that's what I think the residents want to hear at town meeting is, what's the justification for doing this? Do we have that? Does it make sense?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to respond.
Sure.
We have a $7 million plant down there that hasn't been maintained for years. And we're not talking just 2 years.
No.
It hasn't been maintained for years.
Right.
Never upgrades, anything, because they never had the money in the budget to do it, so they never did it. The problem is, it got to a point where it had massive failures, okay? The town put $230,000 for screens in there that are crap. We gotta buy 230,000 more screens, okay? But what I think you have to look for, and I hate to do this because I hate the guy with the friggin' checks in hand. We all know who that is, right? When I say checks in hand, okay? But we have a development behind Noria Gas, who's been to the planning board already. We have Roby's, who has a purchase and sale agreement, all right, or at least had it until our last meeting, where we didn't take action upon their permitting because they didn't send us any maps or anything on it to comply with what we're supposed to. But that's a possible development too. The urban renewal plan, that's nowhere, we're way past that little project out there. But just these two little projects, the taxes alone coming in my opinion, would satisfy how we handle the North Carver Water District. And one of my plans was to keep on Middleborough for the residents, put a gate valve in, commercial will run on commercial just through the North Carver Water District. That's as a short term until we can get a water tower put up. Because pressure is the issue, is water pressure.
Right.
Having a tower would give us that, but we need a grant to help get that.
Okay.
And there's grants out there for that. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And just the one thing we should add, and I'm sure Mr. Belbin would agree, we can talk about whatever agreement we want with Middleborough, But of course, that would have to be approved by Middleborough, and Middleborough hasn't approved anything, so. Okay, Mr. Belvin, would you like to adjourn your meeting?
I'll take a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I will make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time. And
Thanks for joining us this evening.
I look forward to finding when
Mr.
these
Cannon will be in
meetings-
touch.
Are there minutes of those meetings that you had for this working group?
It's not a formal committee.
Okay.
Okay. Moving right along. Does anyone need a 5-minute break before we move along? We all good? Okay. We'll move right into the next item on the agenda, which is a joint meeting with just the Finance Committee for a discussion and possible vote on the following. And the first item is the fiscal year 2027 town budget. Mr. Cannon.
Actually, I'll turn it over to Ms. Proval here in a
Okay.
minute. But again, we do want to talk about the overall 2027 town budget, which included in there is the $650,000 recommended for the North Carver Water District. So I do want to be clear on that.
Yep, okay. Mr. Cannon, what is the deadline for us to vote the budget? What is the last day?
The budget is to be posted on Friday, March 6th.
Okay.
That is our deadline.
Well, so
That is this Friday, yes.
why didn't you mention that during the discussions with the North Carver Water District, where we talked about finding some common ground and discussing that next week?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just-
Because I feel like we just let Bob and Kim walk out the room, not knowing that.
The only thing I could mention to you is, we could, if you did post the budget on Friday, it could be amended on the floor of town meeting.
You'd have to,
Well, yeah, but it is in the operating budget, right? North Carver Water District is in the operating budget.
It's an enterprise fund, so the
I'm
operating
sorry.
budget is just a general fund, so it doesn't include the enterprise fund, it doesn't include CPA, and it doesn't include,
All right, so we can vote the budget tonight without voting the North Carver Water District budget? Ms. Proval?
yes, so.
We can vote the
so-
budget tonight without voting the North Carver Water District?
So what we're voting tonight is just the operating budget. So it's going to be all of your town meeting articles. It does not include the North Carver Water District, CPA, and,
Sorry,
what was
Mr.
this
Chairman, I
list?
stand corrected. Sorry.
And capital.
North Carver Water District has Article 6.
It was my understanding that tonight we were going to be looking at the general fund budget, which didn't include the capital, didn't include the North Carver Water District or CPA.
But I just want to be clear. So we have substantially different proposals between the town administrator and the North Carver Water District. So if next week we said, you know what, the North Carver Water District probably does need a little bit more money, we say they need 850, I'm just picking a number here, they need 850 instead of 650. Wouldn't that $200,000 have to come from someplace else?
That's
in the
correct.
budget?
So what would happen for North Carver Water District, and the district has increased their rates, and so one thing I could do is I could go back and look at the revenue sources, because your revenue dictates how much we can spend. So we have $400,000, that's a subsidy that we're subsidizing this enterprise. If I go back and I see that revenue has increased, maybe we could increase the North Carver Water. I have very conservative revenue projections because I don't want to go over revenue money that we're receiving. I can go back and look at that. If I feel like our revenue is more consistent and we can increase revenue by 100, then his budget can be increased by 750 without increasing, adding anything from the town. I think when the budgets were put together by the town administrator, we were presented a balanced budget. We have limited funds, and just with the operating budget, we had to cut the budget by almost $400,000. School had to cut their budgets. I mean, at some point, I understand that we have all these other expenses, and we may have to, fund what we can fund, which is available, and having meetings, knowing what those additional needs are going to be, and then approach them in the fall whether it's a special town meeting or at town meeting, once we have our additional funding certified. That's the
anyone have
only
any
thing I
questions
can
before
say
we move
because
forward with
it's
the
very
budget?
limited to what we can fund.
So I heard a Friday deadline. What do we have to have? What are we publishing by
The town budget
Friday?
needs to be posted, well, the select board and the finance committee need to vote on the town budget 30 days in advance of the annual town meeting.
And when does the rest of the articles need to be voted on?
They can be voted on next week on the 10th or the 17th. We have to post 1 week in advance, so.
I think if we can get through the budget, most of these articles shouldn't take a whole lot of time.
Okay.
So I think if the key thing is to try to get through the budget as best we can. And,
Okay.
there's an urgency to that, so why don't we start? Ms. Praval.
Okay, so as we go into Article 2 of the warrant, we have our free cash.
Well, yes.
As we go through these articles, should we be saying a motion to add to the warrant?
Well, yes, but do we want to talk about the budget, or we want to talk about the articles?
The budget is Article 5.
Yeah.
Might as well do it in that order.
No, I guess that's true. Yeah, we want two motions on each one. The first one is to put the article on the warrant, and the second one is to recommend or not recommend.
And do you want to go in order of the articles?
Yeah, we may as well.
All right.
Yes.
Several of these have changed since we saw them last. Could we get a quick overview of why some of them
The
changed?
finance committee hasn't reviewed the current budget.
Yeah, Mr. Cannon, do you have an overview of why some of these have changed?
We did make changes to this based on the need for the healthcare funding. And some of the accounts have changed. The most significant part being, we did move $35,000 from the IT budget into the legal budget. That was a recommendation that came from select board members.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, the first one ought to be fairly easy. Is there?
I'll make a motion to put Article 1 Annual Town Report on the warrant.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Need a motion to approve?
Motion to recommend.
To recommend. Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend Article 1.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend Article 1. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. There you go. Okay. Huh? All right. Anything, the Finance Committee has nothing on Article 1, right, Mr. Maha? You have nothing? Okay.
Yes.
Article 2, which is the use of fiscal year 2026 free cash. And I'll just quickly read the informational summary of these so people at home know what we're talking about. For the town's financial policies, fund balances are only to be used for one-time expenditures as they are not recurring expenses. This article will allocate funding from free cash for a number of budget transfers as specified above. And Mr. Cannon, are these what you're comfortable with right now, or are there changes to this?
No, we're comfortable with these totals right now. I do want to point out a correction right now, Mr. Chairman. If you look in Article 2, in the description of the article, it says, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of, that should read $615,500.
617.
17, sorry.
617.5, yeah.
617,500?
617,500, yes.
So it needs to be amended, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I'll just read those for the folks at home. Public Safety Radio Communications Fund, $50,000.
Yep.
North Carver Water District Subsidy, $400,000. Compensated Absences Reserve Fund, $150,000. Tree removal for 7 locations in town which pose a risk to the public, $7,500. Old Home Day Fireworks for 125th, $10,000, which is a total of $617,500. All right, Mr. Ryan.
I just wanted to ask Ms. Praval what was the certified total free cash that we have, just so everybody has that as a reference when we're looking at the multiple articles that are going to use free cash.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, we certified was $2,683,285.
Thank
So one thing I wanted to show, I just passed out a sheet of paper. And this sheet of paper is very transparent and hopefully easy to understand, where I've listed all the funding sources, and I've also listed all the articles of where we're funding these projects. So if you have questions, so you can follow, yes, God bless you, with the articles where the funding is coming from. So we have the revenue and we have the expenses to show where we get a balanced budget.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
North Carver Water District subsidy, $400,000, what is that? So that's not,
So, yes, so we are transferring money from the general fund to subsidize North Carver Water for $400,000, and we have $250,000 that we're going to bring in. Some of that is through the user fees, some of it, we have some federal money that comes in, we have some solar money that's coming in, but they don't have enough money to fund the $650,000 budget, so we're subsidizing it by $400,000. Last year, we had retained earnings, so we had some retained earnings that we were able to use. We had money in a North Carver Water District Stabilization Fund. So in the past, there had been money used from other funding sources to fund North Carver Water District, but that money has been depleted. There are no more, additional, there's no more money in these stabilization funds that were set up in the past. There's no retained earnings coming in because the entity with an enterprise fund, you should be bringing in the revenue to cover all expenses for an enterprise. So you have three different enterprises. You have a subsidy enterprise, a balanced enterprise, and a surplus enterprise. This is a subsidy because it doesn't bring in enough revenue to support the services and the expenses.
So with a $650,000 budget, we only have $250,000 that can cover it. That's why we need the $400,000 budget.
That's correct.
$400,000 subsidy. All right.
That's correct.
Just so you know, I went back and looked through all the old warrants, and this will be the highest year we've ever subsidized them.
Yes.
It's usually 200 to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually we just pay the debt, yeah.
Okay.
230 1 year.
So so why do we put a budget for $650,000 if we know we can't cover it?
Well, we believe that is the minimum budget needed to run the facility for a year.
Okay.
And again, that requires a subsidy of the town to put in $400,000. They're only generating approximately $250,000.
I mean, the only alternative to that, please correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, would be to raise,
Correct.
dramatically raise the North Carver water rates.
Correct.
Right?
You'd have to significantly raise the North Carver water.
Can I ask just
Yes.
a simple question, and I don't want to sound like I'm being snarky, but we're not generating any water out of this facility, but where's the money going? In other words, I saw electricity, I saw gas. Is it running or not running? Like, what is it running?
It isn't pumping any clean water. There are some electricity costs, to keep.
For what? But for what? If it's not, that's what I don't understand. As a taxpayer, we're paying whatever. I get it. We got to pay Middleborough the water, and I agree with what you said. That's the first priority. Get that straightened out. Because if I'm in one of those 130 families that are relying on water, I want to make sure I have water. I'm not one of those houses, so it doesn't directly concern me, but I do care for those people. Why are we paying? I just was looking at that spreadsheet, and I don't understand why we have an electric bill and a gas bill. If it's not, he just said $250,000 in screens, we put those in, but then because it wasn't running, they're no good anymore. So we're throwing money, kind of what you said, it's that 20-year-old car. I just, as a taxpayer, like, what are we doing with this money? Is that 650? How much of that is we're paying Middleborough? I mean, if it's the majority of it, then I'm okay with it because we have to get the water to those people. But if we're paying lights in a building that's not doing anything, I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around this whole thing.
I agree with
This
you.
may not be the time.
I agree with you, which is why I think you really have to take that budget and go through it with a fine-tooth comb and see if there's some numbers there that we can deal with to lower that down. And
I mean, what do we need computers and touchscreens for right now? Like, that's what he's proposing, and what are they gonna control? There's nothing going on in that building. Like, I get it, when we do the study, that's all part of it, and I agree, but I just looking at, we're throwing, now we gotta subsidize 400,000 for what? Like, if we can say it's for water for those houses, okay, I'm okay with that. But it
Right.
doesn't sound like that's the majority of the money that.
And just going back into the detail that Ms. Proval put together for us for the water, I as best I can read it here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Proval, but I think $283,668 was the projected expense for just
For the water from
for
Middleborough.
just water.
Yeah. For you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention, you mentioned what are they spending it on? When you look at their fixed costs that they have to cover, they have electric bill, because they have people at the plant. They have the water, and then they have the phones. So so those are just the fixed. They have legal services. They haven't spent anything, so they have some money in their budget. So they have some savings, which is offsetting some of this deficit. But when you really look at this budget, most of the expenses are coming from other professional services. The distribution officer, the TAT and TAT, the engineering service, and the cost of what we pay for water. So if you look at the budget and if you eliminate all of the extra things that DEP mandated the North Carver Water District to do, we would have enough to cover just the water and just those fixed costs that are every month that you get a bill that comes in. But with these other expenses based off of the DEP mandate, that's where you're going over. So I think you kind of have to look at discretionary and non-discretionary. What's not, as Bob meets with the town administrator, look at what is absolutely needed compared to what's on my wish list, which I'd like to have happen. And as Patrick mentioned before, that if this DEP sees that we're making an effort to make these changes and adhere to the mandate, maybe they're not going to, maybe there are things that can be delayed and continued at another period of time.
Mr. Cannon, can you look into any of the mandates the DEP has given the North Carver Water District? Obviously, we can't ignore the DEP, but maybe there's some services that the town can provide that will enable us to take that off the budget and just let the town. I don't know if there are or not, but maybe there are.
Yeah, that's one thing. So, and to get to Tony's point, I think there are probably two components that make up the $650,000. The two main components. One being the wires to Middleborough. I thought it was around 250. It's 280, somewhere in that range. The other is the actual note. So we still have a note on the plant, $231,000, I believe it is. So there's almost $500,000 right there. And then again, there are still operating costs associated with it, and there will be operating costs if the town takes it over too. So, again, we think that's a bare minimum budget that I have proposed.
And we pay $231,000 in debt
Yeah.
services out of that $650.
And that goes on whether we abandon the plant or not. We pay that. You really have to factor that in.
When does that end?
I want to say 2046.
It's out there for a while.
It's not anytime
And if I recall, the distribution operator was required, Middleborough wouldn't do that anymore, so the town had to fund that, so that's why that got added in, because Middleborough was covering for us, and then they came back and said, we're not gonna do that anymore, Carver, you have to have your own distribution operator. And then the other point I wanna make, and I know people know this and hopefully haven't forgotten it, is that the town was responsible for polluting the land there. So we all know that. And so whatever, I know we feel bad for the residents that we have to go through all this, and they've suffered a lot over the years because of all these issues and everything.
They have, through no fault of their own.
Through no fault of their own. So when I hear raising the water bills to cover our costs, it kind of cringe, I get a cringe on that.
And I just want to be clear, I wasn't proposing that we raise water bill. All I was saying that's the only way of covering the cost.
Right.
Is if you did some kind of astronomical raise in the water rates. But
Right, and then they couldn't afford that, and so.
Is the rate that we charge them, is that comparable to other?
I think it's high now because we've had to raise it because of covering Middleborough, and I guess Ms. Weston showing you the rates that we're charging up there, but it is higher than.
Restaurant in Middleborough
Yeah.
is $1,800 a quarter.
Okay. So I don't know, we'd have to look at that.
100 to 150 a quarter is very low
Okay.
compared to other towns.
I'm in the process of doing an analysis on consumption and what people are actually being billed. Bob mentioned there's 135 residents. So I have all the bills, I have all the meters, and so I just received that information today, so I'm doing a whole analysis. So I'll be able to present to the Select Board and the Finance Committee and North Carver Water, working with them of, these are the number of customers have, these are the pipes that you have, this is what you paid, this is what the consumption was. Because I'm looking at doing a comparison of what people are actually paying compared to what the town is paying for water that's coming from Middleborough.
Just to not wander too far from where
Make
we
a
are.
motion,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a
Well,
motion.
Mr. Mahar, does the Finance Committee plan on making a motion on Article 2?
But we're gonna do whatever, yeah,
So do you want to ask,
whatever we're required to, we will do so.
I mean,
At least if it's.
do you want to make a
Make
a
your
motion
motion.
to recommend or not recommend Article 2?
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 2.
As amended, sorry, 617,
As
500.
amended, the 617, 500 at the top.
Okay, motion in a second. Any further discussion? Okay,
I just want to say, I'm not super comfortable about voting on these because this is the first time for hearing on them. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
We didn't, as a committee, get a lot of description other than what we just talked about tonight.
A lot of these things just came in now. You know, we couldn't have, talked about them before if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So these just came up now?
The changes happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think there are a lot of changes going on because of the healthcare deficit.
That's correct. So
Correct me
we-
if I'm wrong.
that's correct. So when we originally put the budget together, we had the allocations based off the town administrator's recommendations. And those changed over, and then we had the snow, we had during February, we had the snow, we had that event. And then during that time, we then received the final number of what the town's portion was going to be for a gateway. And so we had to reevaluate and reallocate funds in order to cover that through the direction of the Select Board and the town administrator. So, and then working together with
I
them.
do want to say on the North Carver Water District, though, right, I believe the $650,000 number has been out there since, I want to say, November. And the $400,000 subsidy has been out there because
It's been out there for a while.
yeah, it's been out there for a while.
We're looking at Article 2, and the vote is just to recommend that it be in the warrant.
No.
No.
So
We do
the
that.
Select Board puts the article on the warrant. You recommend whether you want to approve or not approve of the.
That's gonna be my next motion, to put it on
Yeah.
the warrant.
Yeah, so the only people that makes it, the only vote to recommend, the only vote to put an article on the warrant is from the Select Board. You recommend whether the Finance Committee approves of this or you don't
We
approve.
typically would make our vote to say, we recommend this to go to the select board.
Okay.
That's usually how we.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna oppose.
Okay.
Aye.
Well,
There are recommendation a motion to put Article 2 on the warrant.
I'll make a motion to put Article 2, the use of fiscal year 2026 free cash in the amount of $617,500 on the warrant.
Second it.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Yes.
Yes, I don't understand why we've got tree removal for 7 locations in town, which pose a risk of the public, and I think that should be in the O&M, regular town maintenance operating budget. And I know this does seem like a one-time item. You get Old Home Day fireworks for $10,000, but for $10,000, I'd like to see fireworks every year. Put it in that should be in the operating budget as well. I'm not sure why it's being segregated out here as a use of free cash for $7,500.
Again, it is a one-time.
There's lots of one-time
Cost.
expenses in the operating budgets.
We started as a one-time operating, one-time cost, not to put in the operating budget. For the Old Home Day, it's their 125th anniversary,
And I think that, I know I've had conversations with Mr. Woods on and off. And I think there are a number of trees that are on town land that pose a risk. And he doesn't have the funding to take them down this year, which is why he asked for some additional funding to be able to do that.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Are we just putting this here because we had no place for it in operating budget?
Well, we also don't, you know, we had to make substantial cuts to the operating budget. You know, we try not to supplement the operating budget with free cash. So we thought this was another avenue to supply, you know, a service here using free cash as opposed to putting free cash into the operating budget.
I'm just curious because I know we had no budget for capital, so, some of these seem like they should have been operating expenses. We chose to have no capital purchased or unless we bond this year.
And not to throw another curveball, but why are we even voting on any of this when we haven't voted on the healthcare issue? Like,
Because that could change things.
that could change everything.
If
So I don't understand why we're not addressing that first before we even talk about East Bend.
We can address that if you would prefer, if the board would prefer to do it that way, we can jump to the healthcare discussion.
But I don't think we have that on the agenda, right?
Well, we have that later on in
It's Article
executive
8.
session.
That's what comes first, the chicken and the egg, that's the big one.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
It's-
Those went, again, we've discussed that a number of times.
Yeah.
So the board is very informed about the healthcare deficit. That's been discussed several times in this room.
But there's a lot of questions about it that public can't go into until we go into executive session.
But the Finance Committee has not been apprised of the health insurance issue. I know about it, but the rest of the committee does not.
Well, I mean, we have the FY '27 operating budget on the warrant, and I think the healthcare deficit is part of the operating budget. Would you agree?
Yes.
So, go ahead. If you have questions, let's talk about it.
I mean, it is Article 8, it's right there.
Yeah.
You know, we are looking for, I can tell you right now, we are looking at a deficit in our healthcare funds for FY '26, which will stretch into FY '27. We right now are looking at a $4 million deficit for the town of Carver. And these are the claims from our employees being processed through our insurance company, HPI.
Should I withdraw my motion?
Yes, I think let's.
Because we switched topics and we didn't vote on it.
Yes, let's withdraw
All right,
that motion.
So I will withdraw my motion until we can go back to it.
Let's skip to Article 8 and have this discussion as much as we need.
So
Clearly, we need to get this budget, the budget done.
So, you know, that is where we stand. We are in a crisis right now with our healthcare system. We are, again, $4 million deficit for our healthcare for FY '26 stretching into FY '27. We call them tailings. We've worked diligently to try to come up with a method to pay for this. Right now, if you see in Article 8, you know, you see $1,465,785 of free cash. Money coming from the stabilization fund, $1,023,920, and then raise and appropriate $1,510,295, which, just so the board is clear, that is the pilot money. And that's how we're coming up with $4 million. Again, we worked this over many times trying to come up with this number. And that's what we are proposing.
So for the, so for the people at home that have questions about this, so can you explain again how we got into a deficit?
So
A question.
For the best of my knowledge, it is the claims put in by our employees going to the doctors. It far exceeds the amount of money that we had, the rate that we had for the healthcare costs in FY '26. It's an extraordinary number. We are pursuing every avenue to dig into that, including an audit of the bills to make sure that they are correct. But right now, the best of our knowledge, as we look into it deeper and deeper, we are in this $4 million deficit. And we're part of a Gateway Health group. There are 3 members of it. The entire group is in a $7 million deficit. The town of Carver makes up 55% of that group. So
So-
That's why we come up with the formula.
So the fees that everybody pays that takes health insurance, that number's collected, we're 4 million, the claims filed by the employee or people enrolled is $4 million more than the money that was collected as fees.
Correct.
And just to correct that, that's Carver's share
That's Carver's
of the
share.
deficit.
That's Carver's share.
Okay, so my question, what happens if we don't pay the $4 million?
The worst thing I see being is that employees, doctors will not be getting paid and their services will be cut off. I'm not sure who, that falls on, but that's one of the ramifications.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking is I've had people ask me these questions. So that's why I'm bringing it before
I have as well.
everybody.
I have as well. And just,
What's the time period? We're talking this 4 million, is it from 6 months, 1 year?
FY '26, within FY '26.
Because for 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. But I got the,
I
it's
mean, if it's
extraordinary.
compounding or just,
and just, so we have asked for an audit.
Yes.
And we are pursuing other avenues.
Yes.
As well. So the fact that we moved this $4 million doesn't mean that we will definitely have to, that's the number we're gonna pay.
Correct.
But we have to provide for it if we do.
Yes.
And I think that's the issue. It's possible that after we explore whatever other avenues we can explore, maybe that number's not quite as high, but maybe it is.
Correct.
And we just don't know, and I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, did you have a question first and then?
Yeah, I guess. Okay, we haven't seen anything on this deficit, no details. What is the age of these receivables? I don't believe for a second it's 1 year. I think that it's a self-insured issue where, claims are tracked, they're paying out. If we're not funding it as, whatever, 5-town, 3-town, whatever it was, if we're not funding it appropriately in prior operating budgets, then this deficit grows and grows and grows and grows. Who's willing to say right now that they know on a shadow of a doubt that black and white, that not one of the $4 million claims pertains to a prior year? Has anybody seen that detail, claims detail, aging? Any of these aging bills go out past 6 months? We've seen nothing on this calculation to go right now and turn around and say, I don't believe it exists. I'll say that right now. I don't believe the $4 million exists.
There is, I want to call it speculation, that our former insurance broker did carry some of the debt from a previous year into FY '26. And while we can't prove it, I can tell you right now, but we are looking at that.
That's why we've asked for an audit.
Correct.
So why are we jumping right now to move money around? Why don't we wait until after an audit's completed and we know the numbers?
Well, right now, to the best of our knowledge, this $4 million, as we dig deeper and deeper, it appears to be the true number for Carver.
I guess it's a proactive versus a reactive thing too, because if we do have to pay it, then we'd have to go back to town meeting and go through all this again. So if we're trying to be proactive,
Correct.
we want to make sure we reserve these funds and not spend them anywhere else and have them available.
can I just ask a question? Typically, when you're like a self-funded entity and you have a health insurance, you may not get the person's name, but you get the detail provided back to you from that carrier monthly. And you can see, oh wow, my GLP-1s are costing me another $1 million. Am I gonna shut that off on the product or not? Were we getting that type of detail?
We were not receiving that type of detail, and I'll say this. We did have a former insurance broker, the Gateway Health Group did, that has been temporarily suspended from services. We brought in a new insurance broker to dig deeper into the numbers, because I believe that was, I will say, part of the problem, was our former insurance broker.
I'm just wondering, $4 million's a lot if it's just this year and we're not finished with the year. Unless everyone's having twins.
But it is a projection. It is a projection to June 30th. I want to be clear with that. So we're looking at claims that they're coming in. They've been exceeding what the money that we've been bringing in for months now, and we are projecting to June 30th. That $4 million is a projection to June 30th.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
What type of insurance are we offering? Is it a Cadillac HMO plan? Is it a PPO? And could we have HSA accounts?
Right now, we have a PPO and an HMO, correct? I mean, they're not Cadillac accounts. They're not.
We haven't seen audits on these books, this entity's supposed to have audits every single year that I would imagine would talk about the tailings and what the underfunded component is year on year. Are we saying that every audit for the past 10 years has shown they're on the money, but last year's audit says, poof, $4 million pops up as an overage?
As far as I know, within the audits from the previous years, there have been no red flags of this nature.
All right, I'm just saying that we need information. We can't, I feel very uncomfortable going to town meeting saying, I'm asking you for $4 million, and we're questioning it now, but trust us. I'd rather go through all the avenues first, fight the good fight, and then come back afterwards and say, this is what the true result is.
I mean, I think we definitely need a lot more information, which is why we have more items scheduled on this. I think the town administrator's concern that he's relayed to me is we don't want to put our employees' health insurance in jeopardy,
Right.
which is why we are trying to create a fund from various places to put that money aside in case we need to pay that deficit. That doesn't mean that that money is definitely going to go to that deficit. We may find that that's not the number. And you're right, there are lots more questions that need to ask, which is why I scheduled this item tonight. But we also have employees that need to have health insurance, and we need to take, I think, the steps necessary so that we don't put their health insurance in jeopardy. And I think that's what the town administrator is trying to do by these various steps. Mr. Maha.
I'd like to ask the finance director if she's had a chance to look at some of the past audits or finances of Gateway.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the only financial statement I have for Gateway is from 2022. And when you go through the financial statement, there are red flags in there where they had shortfalls. And I think it had to do with maybe rates or not communicating those to the different entities that are part of the healthcare group. I don't know everything that was going on, but as I was looking at the financial statements and looking at the contract with all of the communities that are part of it, if Gateway is going to go, in the red, and they're going to kind of get rid of, they're just going to go belly up if they go bankrupt, each community is required to pay for a part of that deficit. And so that 55% share for the town, that's where they're coming up with the $4 million. I haven't seen any documentation in terms of backup of that particular number. But from the FY22 financial statement, I can see that they were having shortfalls in 22. So I don't think that this is something that just came up in 26. I think this is just a continuation of, I don't want to comment on poor management because I don't know because I'm not there, but in terms of financing, this is not something that just arose. This is, from what I can see, with just the 22 financial statement, that there were some shortfalls, and I can share that with you, Mr. Carter, if you'd like to look at it, anyone else on the select board, and you can kind of look at where this organization vendor was going.
How many communities are involved with Gateway?
I believe is it 3 right now? So one community, and I just can't remember the community, they left in 2024. And that was...
Marion or Metapoiset.
Yeah, I'm not sure what community, but they left the group.
It is. So it is the town of Carver, the town of Lakeville, and the Old Rochester School District. Those 3 entities make up the Gateway Health Group.
Do they have similar discrepancies in there?
So we all share the deficit. Again, a $7 million total deficit. Carver is 55%. I want to say Lakeville was 13%, and then what's the difference there? Old Rochester Regional School District is 32%.
So I would like to make a suggestion to the board. We have a executive session scheduled for 8:15. Obviously, we have substantial work to do before we get to that on the agenda. I do see that our healthcare consultant is here. I also want the public to know what's coming up on town meeting. So might I suggest that we go through quickly these warrant articles, get them on the warrant, have a brief discussion if necessary, and then we go to our executive session, have as much of a conversation as we need about health insurance, and then come back and vote the final budget. I really would rather do that and not interrupt the meeting, but I have a feeling we're gonna be very, very late here. And I don't know how late we want to go, but I want to put that out to the board and see what their thoughts are. So what is the thought of the select board on that?
We can take a motion to put the articles on the warrant.
Well, no, I mean, would you prefer to just go through them and delay the executive session? We could do that too, but it could be quite a while.
You're saying, do we want to do the executive session now and then go back to
Yes.
everything afterwards?
Yes, I think we should at least have a brief discussion on the articles so that the public knows what articles are coming on, but I'm interested in everybody's thoughts. Mr. Austin?
Personally, I think we should just do the articles and push the executive session off
Okay, that's fine.
till we get through.
But I
But,
don't
but
feel comfortable
the
with
problem
articles
is,
until we know what's going on with the health insurance.
yeah,
So I mean, I don't think we're gonna get an answer tonight, one way or the other.
I don't think we are either. I think that's the issue.
Let me throw this one out. I'm sorry. Let me throw this one out there. Why, we're looking at 4 million, which again, I have no confidence in that number. So, and just so we know that means there's not $1 free cash for any capital. We were told last night that we're gonna have to put the town into debt for any type of capital work that we need to do. Why don't we take that number, since again, I don't agree with it, cut it in half to 2 million? And then, once we go through the whole analysis to find out what happened, when, who did what and how, and if that analysis is done 6 months from now, then we just come back for a special, and we handle it then.
Well, go ahead.
Can we just vote to put the articles on the warrant and not vote to recommend at this time?
I think we can. Except the budget. The budget needs to be posted Friday, so we need to do the budget. We could put everything else off till March 10th, but we need to do the budget. While I want to ask you a question, Mr. Cannon, just so I understand clearly, to Mr. Carter's point. Let's say we said, you know what, this $4 million is too much, we don't have any confidence in that number. So we're going to put $2 million aside to pay the deficit. My concern would be that there's a group, whether it's Maya or somebody else comes out of the blue and says, we'll take you, but will they take you if you don't pay your previous deficit from a previous group? And that would be, I think, a concern. Is that a valid concern?
I believe that is a valid concern. I don't have that confirmation of that, but I believe
Bless you.
it's a valid concern.
And that's an issue. Mr. Ryan.
I was going to say, if you do use, so our debt came down, and we could probably talk about how much it came down, but if we do use the debt for capital, then you have the option of using the money that's been presented in the article. Well, if you only do half of it and you spend the rest on capital items, then you're not going to have you can't borrow for this deficit.
That's correct.
So that's the problem. You can borrow for capital items, but you can't borrow for the deficit. So we have to allocate money assuming the worst case, and if it doesn't happen, then you put the money back into the general fund.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to comment on a conversation that we had and I looked into, could we issue debt for this $4 million? And we had a meeting with Locklord, who is our bond counsel, and with Hilltop, who puts together our debt service. We would need to have special legislation passed in order to go through the Department of Revenue, and what they would do is they would provide the funding and then it would be amortized. There's a process that it takes, with town meeting being on April 7th. There's not a lot of time to kind of go through that process because you have to get the legislators, and Glenn and I, we had this conference, and we just had this meeting on, I believe it was Monday. We had the meeting on Monday because this came up. I contacted Deb Wagner, who's the director of the Department of Revenue, Richard Manley, who is the head of Locklord, who's our bond counsel, also is reaching out to Deb Warner and some people at the Department of Revenue to look at options for not just the Carver, but the other communities a part of Gateway to figure out how we can fund some of this. We don't like using stabilization funds, we don't have to. And, we're using all of our free cash to cover this. And so we have looked at other options, but due to timing, there really aren't any other things. One of the
In an effort to move forward, we do all realize that we need to vote on the budget tonight. We have no choice. We need to vote on the budget.
Article 5.
On Article 5. Why don't we let the town administrator and the finance director lead us through the budget? Okay? We can take a vote on the budget. If we hear something in executive session that makes the two boards feel that they should come back and amend that budget, we could come back into open session and do that. We could take the rest of the articles and put them on the March 10th agenda.
Yes.
Would that work for everybody? That way we have to move forward at some point to get this done.
Okay.
So, Ms. Praval, Mr. Cannon, why don't you lead us through the budget, and then we'll take a vote, okay?
With this, I'll turn it over to Mr. Praval to walk through the Article 5.
Okay, so Article 5, do you want me to read through it, or? Okay, so Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds, the sum shown below, or any other sum, to fix the salaries and compensations of elected officers and adopt and fund the FY27 wage and salary classification plan for non-union employees as detailed in Appendix A. For the fiscal year operating budget beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027 as detailed in Appendix B, school budget. In the town-wide fixed liabilities, Appendix C, or take any other actions related thereto. So as you look in Appendix B, we have it broken down. We have general government, salary and wages, $2,765,8842. Public safety, salary and wages, $6,033,277.81. Operations and maintenance, salary and expenses, $2,449,458.18. Human services, salary and expenses, $759,188.98. Culture and recreation, salary and expenses, $545,153.33. Debt service, $400.02. Benefits, $749,069.28, for a total of $13,301,636. The next part is the townwide fixed liabilities. In this, you'll see an Appendix C, and it has a breakdown of how we're funding that 14 million. It has a breakdown of what the fixed liabilities are made up of, that 14,503,806. Yes.
I don't see the grant program in here for the $25,000. Isn't that supposed to be in the fixed liabilities? It's before split.
We don't have that as a fixed liability for the grant. So it's in, are you talking about the finance committee?
Yeah, the $25,000 grant program. So that was voted by the town a few years ago to be $25,000 every year. And we had it before the split, but it somehow fell off the last 2 years. And it was in the town side, it was supposed to be put back up, and it was supposed to be put back up to $25,000.
If I could just pause for a second, I apologize. Mr. Neef, I just saw you sitting back there. I didn't notice you before. Would you like to come up here and join us for these discussions?
I wasn't necessarily here to discuss the budget, it was discuss Article 12, but I'll come up.
Okay, that you're here, I apologize. I just saw you back there. Scott Neef, our school superintendent. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I don't see it. I just want to make sure it's in the right spot and it's put back to the amount it's supposed to be.
Okay, within the Finance Committee budget, we have $10,000 that was recommended by the town administrator for the grant program, and
So is that?
so we had $10,000 that was
I
recommended.
believe it has to be put back up to the 25,000 because it was voted at a town meeting for 25. We made a concession one year only to bring it down to 10, but it was voted by a town meeting for 25,000 annually.
Okay, last year we had a budget of 10,000 for the grants. I understand what you're saying. In FY '23, there was, well, we had for FY '23 and '24, we just have actuals. The budget that was recommended for the 10,000, if we increase that, we'd have to look at other areas in the budget that have to be decreased. But this had
It was
been,
voted in a town meeting.
well, it didn't happen in FY '26. I don't know why that was,
I
but we
know.
could look at the
And it was
language.
supposed to be put back to the 25, and I brought it up at a couple of meetings.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I put in a request to have it
Yeah,
put back up to the 25.
I don't think you can bring it down.
I was gonna say, I do remember the request, Pat, and we had a discussion about how tough the budget was this year, and I proposed the 10,000.
Well, what if as a fix that we could amend at town meeting floor, what if we lowered the finance committee reserve by $15,000 and increased the grant, just did switch the two at town meeting floor? I'm just trying to find $15,000.
Yeah.
That's all, without going through anything.
I'm just saying it was, I think it has to be the 25 because it was voted that way. Before we built this grant program, the way it worked was anybody could go up on town floor
Right,
with a
that's
petition
exactly-
article for the money.
Yeah.
So we changed that and said limit it to 25,000 and do it this way.
I remember the whole discussion, I just don't remember if we found a number here, that's all.
Yeah, there's a number bound to it.
Well, and we could certainly take 15,000 from somewhere else, I'm just trying to think of a quick $15,000 that we change on town meeting.
Well, we did just move $35,000 from the IT budget into the legal budget.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could take $15,000 from the legal budget now, if you will.
Yep.
That's our recommendation, to bring this back up to
Okay.
25,000.
That's fine, whatever we do to balance that out, if nobody has any issues with it. I'm just trying to come up with $15,000 to make it work, that's all, if that's the case.
It should be in fixed liabilities, is that what you're saying?
It was supposed to be before the split. It used to be.
This was not discussed as a fixed liability when we had the conversation and determined what was going to be part of the fixed liabilities. We had several meetings.
I brought it up.
Okay. Well, I don't believe it was voted.
It may not have been, but I did bring it up.
Okay.
I mean, this is the first I've heard of it being in an article. I
Again,
I thought it was a budget line item.
If it didn't have to be done tonight, I'd say we'd wait, but it has to be done tonight, so we need to have a balanced budget.
We currently have $10,000 in a grant line in the Finance Committee, so are you looking to just increase that to 25,000? Are you looking
It
to have
should
a
be
different
20.
article?
No, it's supposed to be $25,000
Okay,
annually.
so we're looking to increase the Finance Committee's budget by $15,000, and so we'll be decreasing legal by $15,000 and increasing the Finance Committee by $15,000, and that does not, it's going to change the appropriation order as you look at the detail for the departments, so I'd have to make that change, but it doesn't change your final number.
If you want to approve that, then you wouldn't have to amend it on town meeting floor, we could just make that amendment.
Right, we can do it now, right.
So the grant writing goes through the finance committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Malinowski set that up that way, probably 5 years ago now.
More than 5 years.
That the 25 grand would be the limit for the finance committee, and it'd be issued out how they see fit. Then we had a budget crunch, and Alan dropped it down to 10,000 for that year.
It was supposed to be a 1 year only.
1 year only, is the way we understood.
Okay, we'll make sure moving forward that that budget is then updated with that amount so that it's level funded now for each year. You're welcome.
Okay. Any questions from the Finance Committee on the budget?
Okay, should I move on?
Ms. Lott?
Through you, Miss, I had one last, we didn't finish, we had the school budget. I don't know if you wanted to move on with
But
that.
you, no, I mean,
Okay. We have the school budget of 26,237,431, bringing a total general fund budget to 54,042,873.
The only thing I'll weigh in on the school budget tonight is that the school committee has not yet voted the school's budget. Our intention is not to do so. We haven't even had our public hearing on the budget yet. So it was supposed to be the day of the snowstorm, and then that meeting obviously was canceled. So the public hearing is scheduled for this Monday, March 9th, and then the school committee intends to vote a budget on March 23rd.
so does that budget not need to be posted 30 days in advance?
The operating budget.
Okay. All right.
But I will say that the comment I'll make is that, obviously the school committee hasn't voted this number of 26,237,431. The budget that will be presented, the budget proposal that's going to be presented to the school committee on Monday evening as part of our public hearing will be based upon that number of 26,237,431.
So we can vote confident in that number. Pat, does your committee have questions on the budget?
Any, just to make sure that this follows the definition of the split, and it is also a balanced budget, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But, sorry, question for the finance committee. So I'm just making sure that you guys have saw the most current version, that's a balanced budget, you've met with all the department heads on the current version, and you feel comfortable making a recommendation. Is that a yes or a no?
We met with all the departments, except the school department, we still have to do that, but that always comes later anyway. There's certainly been changes since we've met with all the department heads, yeah.
It's still off
But I
of the
think
general
we know
government.
why,
The
I
only thing
don't
that changes the
know what they are, we just
Finance committee.
haven't had the ability to have timely meetings to hear about those things.
Well, I was going to say, the only change that there wasn't presented in front of the Finance Committee was the $35,000 from the IT budget, which we've now split to $20,000 into the legal budget and then $15,000 into the, I want to call it the grant program.
When I'm looking at the old form I had to the one I have tonight, I have a lot more than that changing. I mean, ups and downs, small amounts everywhere. But there's definitely been changes, I think, since January, moving back.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what has changed? So when everyone received their budget binders, we met with all the departments, we went through all the allocations in terms of what the departments were requesting and what the town administrator was recommending. None of those changed except for IT, which just changed yesterday, and the transfers. Those are the main things. But so as you look at the general fund budget of the total town and the school, the fixed liabilities, that did not change from the time that you got your binder. But what did change was the transfers. So originally, when the town administrator presented the balanced budget, he had transfers based off of what we were receiving for free cash. We had money going into, we were looking at putting the pilot money into different reserve funds. That changed within the last week or two when we found out that we needed to find other funding. And that is something that you didn't have with those changes.
So for example, like when I'm looking at this and saying, I don't know, legal is up from last time, but the registrar's down, is that what you mean by the transfers?
No, I mean the transfer articles using the use of free cash and the pilot money. But in terms of the actual town's budgets, they haven't changed from the time that we met in front of the committees. Except for IT, which just changed a day ago. IT and legal.
I guess, so in other words, you're saying the bottom line budget number did not change at all from January to now?
That's correct.
but Finance Committee hasn't gone over the changes.
Well, if there was only one change, we know about it now.
Well, I think that's it, there's a lot of changes.
Well, I had changes on my sheets, but if she's saying they haven't changed, I'm not sure.
Does the Finance Committee want to take a vote on Article 5?
Well, we'll see if there's a motion.
Recommend?
Again, does anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, we get a motion, we got a second. Okay, any further discussion? Jack? Want to make, something you want to say?
Yes.
Go ahead.
A second.
Oh, yeah, okay, any further discussion?
No.
Okay. Then we'll take a vote. All those in favor? And those opposed?
I'm opposing.
I'm opposed just because of the confusion.
And how about abstaining? Okay, let's try this again. Okay, all those in favor? Anybody in favor of the budget?
Of Article 5.
Of Article 5? Those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Opposed. So it looks like we got an 0 and 5.
Okay, as far as recommendation. Okay. Ms. Purnell.
Through you, Ms. Chair, there have been changes in the budget. And so when you're looking at fixed liabilities, that did go down by $70,000 because unemployment there was a duplicate entry. So we had to make some changes, but nothing to the actual individual department line items. I can put together a spreadsheet outlining what has been changed or updated from that time, and then I can send it out to people.
Okay.
But a lot of the transfers did change.
All right, so to the chair.
As we made changes, we provided updated spreadsheets, so everyone should have those in their binder.
Yeah, I was looking at I have my old value for general government was 2,765,088. I had that from way back. That number's still exactly the same. You know, I didn't see a change there. I was just kind of going through each of them. I guess so to the chair, the FinCom took a vote 0 to 5 not to recommend.
Okay.
The article.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments too. Is like last year, I remember we were kind of squashed for time and did some voting. Maybe we didn't really want to or whatever, and I thought we would get over that and have a little bit better. But you know, we've come down to some situations now where we're timing up against the wall, and we've had lots of issues here, including health insurance, which we still don't even know about.
Right.
And you know, it just I was not anticipating us being in this position again.
None of us were.
And I think it's worse than last year. And you know, I'm really not happy about it. So that's all I'll say for now.
I guess to the chair, what options do we have at this point? I mean, you have to vote on something by Friday or we don't have town meeting. I guess that's the bottom line.
Well, what happens if we don't? What's the penalty if for some reason we vote this Tuesday on it? What's the penalty?
We have to push town meeting.
Well, you'd be in violation of the bylaw.
Who comes and puts the cuffs on us?
Is it our own?
I don't. Well, I'll tell you what, if I read the bylaw right, it says at least 30 days prior to the date of the annual town meeting, the Select Board and Finance Committee shall vote on their budget recommendations, right? So there is a vote, right? Not a favorable vote, but there is a vote, right? The Select Board votes on it. We can post the budget, right? We can have a meeting with the finance committee on Monday night, maybe ask them to reconsider their vote before we print the warrant. Let's do as much as we can to educate and to help out what we can. Same with the select.
Pat, what are your big issues here? What do you think would help you be more confident in this budget?
I just think the communication process.
I understand that, but we have a duty to give the public a budget. So what could the town administrator do to give you more confidence in the budget? Is there something he could do in the next few days?
I'll bring that up to the committee.
What if we scheduled a meeting for Friday? What if we scheduled it, we have time to post a meeting for Friday? What if we scheduled another meeting for Friday? Is there something the town administrator could do in the next few days to get you the information that you need, that you feel like you can take a vote in the budget?
Well, I mean, we've got 5 different opinions here. What would it take to change the vote?
I think part of it is we vetted out the departments, and now I see we're looking at 2 different numbers here. So what do we spend the last 3 months doing? And then they got changed. We really didn't have time to look at it and understand why it got changed. So now you're asking to vote. We're asking to vote on something that we haven't really been able to look at and study.
I think also, we just need more information. The sheet that we were provided today, just says FY 2017 recommendation, and then says increase, decrease. We don't know what we're increasing or decreasing to. We don't know what we actually spent in 26. What was the budget of 26? Like, we're just looking at one number here.
What sheet are you referring to?
The one we received today.
Can I see what you have?
I understand that. I guess what all I'm at, and maybe the answer is there's nothing he can do in the next couple of days to get you the information you need. But is there something the town administrator could do in the next couple of days to get you folks the information you need to come back on Friday and take a budget vote? That's what I'm asking. Maybe the answer is just nothing he can do for you. I don't know, but.
Well, can we have a meeting on Friday and walk through every single line, go over the budget, again, line by line, every single line?
Yes, Mr. Ryan.
So I have the numbers from February 2nd. I'm comparing them to what's in Appendix B, and except for the debt service, everything's spot on.
We met more in like December.
Okay.
Beginning of June.
So you haven't had anything since December, an update of the budget?
We haven't met and heard anything.
Well, you haven't met since December.
Mr. Ryan, do you feel comfortable taking a vote on the budget tonight?
I do, because I do have the numbers from February 2nd. I'm looking through the Public Works total and Human Services, they all match. I think to your point is we could take a vote, get it posted on the warrant.
Well,
and
that's what I'm thinking. If the select board, Mr. Hoffman, do you feel comfortable taking a vote?
Yes.
Okay, then I think let's the select board take a vote, and at some point, the finance committee can get together with the town administrator, and perhaps you, at that future on, you can get a different vote from the finance.
You can get a revote.
Okay. Yep. Why don't we do that? So we do need to, unfortunately, we're bound here, so we need to do something.
So I will move that Article 5, the fiscal year 2027 operating budget for the town, be placed on the warrant as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to put Article 5 on the warrant. Any further discussion?
Questions?
Again, we're just putting it on the warrant.
They were putting it on the warrant first.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion on putting it on the warrant? Hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? It's unanimous. Is there a motion to recommend Article 5?
I'll make a motion that the select board recommend Article 5 as written.
Is there a second?
Take a motion to vote whether to recommend or not.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we vote it as is, and of course, we'll post it on Friday. If if we needed to revisit it, then we could always revisit, but I don't, as I mentioned, I went through, I've got the total general government from February, I got the total public safety, the human services, culture and recreation, and public works. I have all the numbers we had in February, and I'm looking at the Appendix B. I would like to see Appendix B show last year's appropriation. That would probably be helpful to everybody to see what changed from, what was appropriated in FY '26 versus was proposed. But the public works total, the human services total, the culture, the benefits, all those are adding up to what I had in February. So I haven't seen a change to those, and they've been vetted by, the town administrator recommendation, which we've all reviewed, and it had that material. So I don't see a reason why not to support what's in there.
Is this individualized or?
Yeah.
Ms. Weston, if you could make sure you just use a microphone.
So what would change is in Appendix B, the individual lines for Finance Committee and Legal.
Correct.
The total would still be the same.
Right.
We're just going to move it around so you guys get the extra 15.
And my motion will be as amended to take that 35,000 and split it to give the Finance Committee the $25,000 grant money and the legal, the
But for the
balance.
operating budget, nothing has
But the
changed.
balance
That
isn't
needs-
changed.
Yeah, that 13,301,000 has stayed the same, and that's the only thing that needs to be voted on, and we can modify Appendix B to take out those other items that are on there and just have that 13 million on there.
Okay.
So your motion is to recommend Article 5 as amended, correct?
As amended for the Finance Committee, 15,000 and the 10 for the legal.
Right. Was there a second? Is there a second?
I will second for discussion.
Okay. Discussion.
So I have a question. So what we're voting on, so I have a question on this legal budget. I've expressed my opinion on this in the past, that I don't think this should be increased at all. Is this discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because this past year, we had a contract, so we used legal a lot. We won't have those 3 contracts again this year.
Correct. We have other legal, we have other legal cases that we are pursuing right now that will hit our legal budget. And
So while you lose one, you gain another. I think that's the bottom line, and we've been running a deficit in that too.
Are there any other questions? Mr. Carter, you had something, right?
Yeah. First of all, I still feel, going back to last year, that I don't agree with the financial policies of the select board where we're putting health insurance and pension costs above the line, which obviously create a split that I don't agree with, which is the foundation of this budget. Secondly, I'm kind of ringing the bell right now because I'm seeing a lot of, I think we've got a spending problem going on in general with this budget, because if you're looking at the raise and appropriate from a revenue standpoint, we had 1.1 million in new growth coming in, mainly because of the battery storage project, as well as 2.5. And if I remember correctly, the finance director said that they cut 400,000, even with these larger numbers, they had to cut $400,000 out of the budget. So I'm extremely concerned that we're just looking around and saying, hey, we've got a balanced budget, versus saying, hey, it's spending out of control. So I've got huge concerns with this fiscal 27 budget from a spending perspective. Secondly, not to jump on health insurance, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I had discussions with the town administrator that right now the health insurance, which has been a problem in the past and is a problem we're going to talk about tonight, the increase between 26 and 27 is only 11%. So he explained to me that the calculation, and I guess it goes to the finance director as well, that it's based on fiscal year actuals to a certain date with an estimate going forward, and then a 25% markup on that. So the question is, we've got a 10 or 11% increase from prior year, but somehow a 25% embedded markup in health insurance costs. But my big question is, who put together the 26 reforecasted health insurance that has taken the claims spent prior to a certain date and forecasted going forward. Where did the number come from for the forecast, and how confident are we in that number?
The 25%?
The forecast for
4 million.
2026 that has actuals, I'm assuming, through March, and estimates for April, May, and June, or actuals through February maybe, or January, and then estimates for February, March, April, May, and June. 5 months of estimates that we're hanging a 25% bump on, that is really only 11% more than last year's. So since health insurance is this massive problem, I don't feel confident in this health insurance number that's in this budget. Unless someone can turn around and say, who put together the fiscal 2026 actual forecast that we increased by 25%?
Through you, Mr. Chair, are you referring to the $4 million?
Nope, I'm talking to the regular health insurance, 26 versus 27 went up 11%.
So-
I was told that the calculation was our actuals for fiscal 26 with the forecast for the remaining months out of the year. I want to know who did the forecast, where did it come from, and how accurate it is, because health insurance has not been accurate so far.
Yeah, so for the health insurance projections, we've always used the budget of what's been budgeted. So as I looked at what the actuals were and looking at the increases over the years and the increases that we're going to have that were a little more, that were higher than previous years, then I put together a projection of what I felt the health insurance was going to be based on what we actually are paying for health insurance, not on what was originally budgeted. That's why if you look at some of the other fixed liabilities, you don't see as high of an increase as you did in previous years, because the budget was always based on the projected budget, not the actual. So as we look at like even municipal insurance was based off of what the original prior year budget was compared to what the actuals were. So as I looked at the actuals and I looked at the averages over the years and the increases over years, I felt that this was a good projection for our health insurance for FY27.
So is it an 11% increase or is it a 25% increase in health insurance?
I have 11% off of actuals. I have to go back and I can look at that and I can tell
I'm
you.
confused and unclear, so.
That was the opposite. I was 25% off of actuals, 11% off of what was this?
The projected, I'll have to look at that.
That's
I don't have my computer.
quite a sizable number in this
Yeah.
budget, which feeds into allocations and everything else, so.
Yep.
That was my only comment.
Okay.
I can get back to you on that.
All right. We have a motion and a second to recommend the budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Against.
Fine. But we have a budget on the,
We have a budget, we can post the budget, we'll be in compliance with the bylaw. We will work until we get this straightened out.
all right. Mr. Neef, how much time do you think you need in Article 12?
I think I need 2 minutes, unless you want to, if you want to defer, I can certainly come back.
You can have
next.
3 minutes, okay? Let's talk about Article 12.
And I'm not going to hand up for you.
Huh?
But I'll give you the very quick Reader's Digest version of the hand. So Mr. Griffin likes to put this up.
Thank you.
Well, this is the easy one. This is the easiest thing you're going to look at all.
You say that now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be one short. One short.
So we can share.
Oh. So we just wanted people to understand what Article 12 is.
Do
Is
me
that
do me a favor, for the folks
Oh,
at
sorry.
home, read the summary on Article 12 so people know what we're talking about, okay?
Scott Neef, Superintendent of the Carver Public Schools, I think I may have already said that. Informational summary for Article 12. Federal reimbursement funding is available to school districts that transport students who are homeless and/or in foster care. In order to be eligible to receive reimbursement for these allowable costs, the Carver School Department must enter into an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the participating state and federal agencies noted in the article, which is DESE and the Executive Office of Health and Human Services. Then each year, the school department can request partial reimbursements for costs associated with transporting those students to school. So this is really about, right now, there's not a mechanism for us to get any reimbursement for transporting foster care students. I'll give a very specific example. In the past, we had a foster care, so a student living in Carver who goes into foster care gets placed in Framingham. That was a situation that happened last year. Then there's what's called a bid meeting, a best interest determination, what's in the best interest of the student. And if they believe the student is going to return back to Carver in a relative time frame, 6 months, 9 months, a year, and so then they would say the best interest would be for that student to stay in school in Carver, even though currently they're residing in Framingham. So then we become responsible to transport them from Framingham to Carver. And that's not a reimbursable cost. But right now, there's no reimbursement mechanism. This year, actually, for the first time since I've been superintendent, we are actually doing all of our transportation in-house. We don't have to contract out any of those services. We just don't have a large number of those situations this year. But that changes from year to year. There's been other years where our foster care transportation costs have been between $60,000 and $100,000 in a year. Because if you're transporting someone from Framingham, sometimes that cost could be anywhere from $350 to $500 a day. So the federal government has established a mechanism for us to get reimbursement. The reimbursement rate's around 20%. And all that the town meeting needs to do is authorize the school department to enter into this agreement. Not exactly sure why that, I don't know what town would say, but don't do that. There's no downside to this. But the requirement is that the town meeting vote to allow the school district to create this MOU that would allow us to apply for reimbursement for our foster care transportation costs. This year, quite honestly, our reimbursement will only be about $700. But at 20% in a year where it's $80,000, that's a real sum of money. So we would appreciate if the select board would vote to put this on the warrant and give the town the opportunity for us to enter into this agreement and begin to receive foster care reimbursement for transportation.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a motion to put Article 12 on the warrant?
So,
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Is there a motion to recommend Article 12?
second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions for Mr. Neve?
I got a question.
Mr. Con.
Sure. I'm trying to understand this from the standpoint of, and I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I'm saying that your situation is, if I understood this correctly, is a child, for whatever reason, moves out of Carver, gets displaced, and is someplace else.
Correct.
But somehow somebody or some organization, or I don't know what you guys, makes a determination that the child's circumstances dictate that maybe within a certain amount of time they'll be coming back to Carver.
Correct.
And who makes that determination?
That's actually, we're part of that determination, and it's actually DCF and the school districts involved. So the people at the meeting to make this determination would be representatives from DCF, a representative from the Carver Public Schools, a representative from the school district in which the student is currently residing. And really, DCF takes the lead on that because they're going to have the best sense of what's the plan for reunification. They're gonna know, no, there's not going to be a reunification here. The best interest is for the students to not be transported from Framingham. They take that into consideration. Framingham to Carver every day, Fall River to Carver. Certainly it makes a difference if the student's residing in Middleborough. Certainly it's easier to transport from Middleborough to Carver every day. And I gave Framingham as an example because that is a real example from last year. We had a student who, for a good part of the year, was transporting back and forth between Framingham and Carver with the sense that they would be reunified with their family in Carver, and they were, and then came back to school in Carver. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
But so we sit at the table when that decision's made.
So, and an evaluation gets done probably periodically, like, is it open-ended, the person could go to Carver for 1, 2, 3 years?
No, it doesn't usually go beyond, sometimes a homeless situation may go beyond a year. Very rarely there's a foster care situation. If it turns, if we get to a point where it's a year and there's not a reunification plan, then you can reinitiate this bid process, this best interest determination.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time on that. I know you got a lot of stuff going on tonight.
Mr. Neef, do you want to stick around for our health insurance discussion?
Thank you for the invitation, but I will pass on
Okay.
that. I'll get the
Mr. Cannon, are there any other articles we need to deal with tonight?
No, there are none.
All right, so we're going to take the rest of this and move it to March 10th, okay? Mr. Mahar, would you like to make a motion for your group, your finance committee to go into executive session?
Yes, please. We have a motion.
Well, you need to, do you have the motion? You need to make this motion. If you can.
I don't have the motion. Okay.
8:15.
The executive session pursuant to Mass General laws?
Okay. 8:15, executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and litigation regarding the Gateway Health Group, and the chair declares that discussing these matters in an open session will have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the town, and not to return to open session.
That requires a roll call vote.
Okay, well, first of all, we need a motion.
Yes, you do.
We have a motion for that? Okay, motion and a second? Second. Jack, okay. And a roll call vote.
Yep.
Okay.
Just call out each member.
Each person has to name, say your
Okay,
name,
each
say aye.
person has to do that. Okay, Pat Maher, aye.
Elizabeth Salver, aye.
Tony Macrina, aye.
Walter Cole, aye.
John Spinetto, aye.
All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion for the select board to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and litigation regarding the Gateway Health Group, and the chair declares that discussing these matters in an open session will have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the town, and not to return to open session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Carter.
John Carter says aye.
Dan Ryan says aye.
Mark Townsend says aye.
Jim Hoffman says aye.
All right. We are in executive session. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Area 58.